Yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Subhash, sir, good morning. Why are you hiding?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bhaiya. Bhaiya, we are live now.
Okay, sir, now we will be starting our streaming. So it would be in the sequence of like Dr. T.V Narayana, sir, Dr. Chetan Singai, sir, Rao Vadlamudi, sir, Professor Sriram, sir, Raj Vaidya, sir, and Asok Balachandran, sir. So initially you can provide your opening remarks. Then after the Q&A session will start. Yeah. So a phonetic good morning to all the dignitaries present over here and all the audience who have joined across the India on celebration of 13th World Pharmacists Day with the theme Pharmacy Strengthening Health Systems. Today, Indian Pharmaceutical Association Students Forum came forward organizing a panel discussion on how and when could Indian pharmacists become the pharmacist of the world. So today we have as a panelist member, Dr. T.V Narayana, sir, who is the National President, the Indian Pharmaceutical Association. We have Dr. Chetan Singai, sir, who is the Chief Consultant and Convenor, National Curriculum Framework, Ministry of Education, Government of India. We have Dr. Rao V.S.V. Vadlamudi, sir, who is the immediate past President, the Indian Pharmaceutical Association, and also at Commonwealth Pharmacist Association. We have Professor Dr. S. Sriram, sir, who is a former Secretary, Education Division, the Indian Pharmaceutical Association. We have Mr. Raj Vaidya, sir, who is a former chairperson at IPA Community Pharmacy Division and who is also practicing community pharmacist in India. And we have Mr. Asok Balachandran, sir, who is a registered pharmacist at United States of America. So moving forward, I would like to introduce, as everyone know about Indian Pharmaceutical Association, it's our due honor to introduce again to all the new participants who have joined about Indian Pharmaceutical Association. Indian Pharmaceutical Association, which was established long way back in the year 1939 at Banaras Hindu University, which is one of the oldest premier association of the pharmaceutical professionals in India, which is being operated more than 22 state branches and more than 46 local branches. If you want to be part of IPA, you can check out www.ipapharma.org. IPA is functioning through 5 different divisions, that is Industrial Division, Hospital Pharmacy Division, Educational Division, Regulatory Affairs, and Community Pharmacy Division. And we also would like to introduce about IPA Students Forum. IPA-SF is a network of motivated young pharmacists and pharmaceutical recent graduates within the IPA, and IPA-SF was established in the year 2008 at Mumbai in the presence of former President of India, late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, sir. The IPA-SF objective is to upskill and strengthening the pharmacy students community, and which we have widespread across 15 states with more than 5,000 members. And I would like to introduce housekeeping rules who have been in the Zoom. I kindly request all the participants, kindly keep your microphones muted. And if you have any questions, please type in the chat box. And also the participants who have joined through YouTube, kindly post your queries in the YouTube comment section. Our team members will be taking the questions from there and posting to the speakers here. And if you want to join as an IPA member, kindly visit the link which has been provided in the chat boxes, or you can check out www.ipapharma.org. So with this kind introduction, I also would like to introduce myself as a Sainachari Gannoji, who have been recently elected as the President of the Council of IPA Students Forum National Executive Council for the 2023. And with the permission of the speakers and the panelist members, I would like to introduce my team, Rushali Doshi as a Vice President of the Council, Karsh Shah as a Secretary, Vivek Kamble as a Chairperson of Liaisons, Devyani Bhatnagar as a Chairperson of Projects, and we have Mr. Mohit Manchanda as a Chairperson of Public Relations. And we have motivated, dedicated, and active subcommittee members who have been showcasing their dedication towards the profession by working all the nights. And for all the activities, we have Project Subcommittee, we have Public Relations Subcommittee, and Liaison Subcommittee. With this short introduction, I would like to introduce our first panelist member, Dr. T.V Narayana, sir. Due to his unavailability and sudden commitment, sir is not able to join here. But I would like to introduce Dr. T.V Narayana, sir, and we have Dr. Sumalata ma'am, who would be providing sir's message on behalf of Dr. T.V Narayana, sir. Dr. T.V Narayana, sir, is a national president at Indian Pharmaceutical Association, who is an iconic figure in the field of pharmacy profession, particularly pharmacy education, with a rare blend of academic excellence, entrepreneurship, organizational and management skills, leadership qualities, and above all, everlasting enthusiasm to serve the field of pharmacy. Dr. T.V Narayana, sir, who has been elected unanimously as a national president of Indian Pharmaceutical Association for the term 2018 to till date, and elected unanimously as a General Secretary of the Indian Pharmaceutical Congress Association for the tenure 2019 to 2022 for the consecutive third term. He was also elected unanimously as the president of Southeast Asian Regional Pharma Forum, a WHO Forum of Southeast Asian region for the term 2020 to 2022. He is the board of directors for Asian Association of School of Pharmacy and a member of DTAB Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of the Government of India. He played a major role in bringing prestigious FIP World Congress 2011 and 61st IPSF Student World Congress 2015 to India for the first time, and played a major role in organizing several congresses, conventions, workshops, seminars at various capacities to the teachers, students, and pharma professionals successfully. With this short introduction, I would like to request Dr. Sumalata ma'am to convey the message of Dr. T.V Narayana sir on the title of the occasion.
Yeah, very good morning, one and all. Respected panelists, and in the absence of Dr. T.V Narayana sir, who is National President, Indian Pharmaceutical Association, and a very senior and towering personality in pharma field, Dr. Rao Vadlamudi sir, and I welcome Dr. Chetan sir and Raj Vaidya sir, and Subhash Mandal sir, and Sriram sir, and Ashok sir. So, on behalf of Indian Pharmaceutical Association and President Dr. T.V Narayana sir, I would like to welcome you all for this August gathering, and I congratulate all the IPA-CPD team, exclusively Mr. Sainath and his team, and because of very short notice, Dr. T.V Narayana sir would not able to attend this program as he's traveling and he could not finish that trip. And he conveyed his deep regret message to all of you in his absence. And he said that regarding this topic, today's theme, he would like to give a separate session to all of you. In his absence, he asked me to convey that he would be announcing that IPA Students Congress details also, very soon. And he conveyed his all the best message to everyone, all the panelists, as well as the delegates and participants. Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity. And we really regret for the inconvenience caused on behalf of T.V Narayana sir. Thank you everyone.
No issues, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your conveying message of Dr. T.V Narayana sir, and we look forward, and thanks for that, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Moving forward, I would like to introduce Dr. Chetan Singai sir, who is a Chief Consultant and Convener at National Curriculum Framework, Ministry of Education, Government of India. Dr. Chetan Singai sir is a prominent figure at the intersection of academia and policy in India. With a distinguished career, he has played a key roles in higher education and educational policy. Dr. Singai earned his PhD from National Institute of Advanced Studies, focusing on higher education and university governance in India. He also holds PhD, MPhil in Law and Governance from Jawaharlal Nehru University and Master's degree in Political Science from the same institution. His academic pursuits led him to the prestigious international scholarship, including from the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship. As an educator, Dr. Singai has taught at notable institutions like the National Law School of India University and St. Joseph's College in Bangalore. He received the Social Justice Medal for his contributions to human rights and women's empowerment. Dr. Singai impact extends to the policy formulation. He was part of committees shaping the national education policy and has held significant roles in educational governance. He is also a prolific scholar with 2 books and over 25 articles published in national and international journals covering the topics such as higher education, space policy, and human rights. Currently, Dr. Singai sir serves as a Chief Consultant and Convener for the National Curriculum Framework within the Ministry of Education, Government of India, continuing to influence the future of education in the country. And Dr. Chetan Singai sir, with this short introduction, I request you to address the gathering and on the title you have said, Implications of the National Education Policy on Pharmacy Education and Research. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sainath, and thank you all the eminent co-panelists for accommodating me and also in anticipation of accommodating my thoughts. It's a very important occasion on the auspicious day of the Pharmacy Day that we all must reminiscence the contribution of great scholars for the domain of pharmacy, especially Professor Shkarov's contribution since 1930s, because he himself is ideal and a role model for what the national education policy tries to bring forth in the higher education sector. And pharmacy itself is well positioned towards making this more multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and so on and so forth. As all the eminent panelists would know, Professor Shkarov was actually an engineering student who had to drop out for certain reasons, then going abroad, getting exposed to biotechnology, chemistry, and chemical engineering, and so on and so forth, then coming back into India, and then harnessing the domain of pharmacy, as we all today recollect and also acknowledge the contribution he has made. Most importantly, he also has earned undergraduate degree in arts with honors in chemistry. So that's way back in the 1940s and 50s when we realized the way multidisciplinarity emerged in the higher education sector. Unfortunately, our post-colonial education system has made us more narrower, more parochial in the way we look into higher education sector. So here we are at the moment of the turn of 21st century, where we have a lot of scope to reform the education system to make it not only global, but local. That is, look at the global aspirations, keeping the local context, which is what we have not harnessed to the fullest in any domain of higher education. Often we look towards benchmarking ourselves to US and UK, which is good, no doubt, because they are definitely the benchmarks over time. But how much of our local context is unique and itself very creative and critical is something that we need to reflect upon. That's my first opening thought, which I would like to share. Secondly, the quality of pharmacy education has a direct impact on the quality of healthcare and allied domains and experiences offered to people in any nation. And in the pandemic, definitely we have experienced it. And I think we should have a lot of learning from that. But what was very critical there was something which the NEP acknowledges in its initial chapters, where there's a reference to Steve Jobs' quote that, and now I quote Steve Jobs' quote in that NEP document also, which has been referred, quoting, "I think part of what made Macintosh great was that the people working on it were musicians, poets, artists, and zoologists and historians who also happened to be the best computer scientists in the world," unquote. Now, what is that essentially trying to communicate to us? Here, in the domain of pharmacy, it's an opportunity for us now. And COVID has also made us to realize the prominence of looking at pharmacy and management, pharmacy and science, which always is there, but still the way we looked at it is different now. Pharmacy with social work, pharmacy with so many other domains and disciplines. Of course, this was before pandemic also, we had many such moments to realize the interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity, but the pandemic has given that much push and momentum aligned with the NEP's recommendations that we are supposed to reflect upon. So I would now use this forum to call upon to all of us to think through how to enable multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, and transdisciplinarity in the higher education sector, particularly in pharmacy. Because the third point is what I'm going to now share is also critical. As a person who got an opportunity to work with NEP and now the National Curriculum Framework, one thing is very clearly coming out is that, again, in Indian higher education system, particularly the both school and higher education, we have not reflected on education as a continuum. Often what happens in school remains in school. And when they come to higher education, they often don't carry what they have learned, because our school education is not such an experience which they want to carry forward to higher education. So the multidisciplinarity component now with the National Curriculum Framework coming in is being exposed to the children at their grade 7 and 8. So they get prepared, they get exposed. And pharmacy or pharmacy-related aspects under the vocational frame has also been reflected, where schools can now expose them to quite early in their life rather than they coming to higher education, sometimes by force, and many times by choice, but that is very less. By choice is quite less, but often by force, which just becomes unfortunate for their creativity and critical thinking, analytical thinking. So now we are seeing education as a continuum. And that is where, again, the IPA, IPSF should come together and see how you can actually contribute the aspect of pharmacy education innovation at the school level also, wherein you can see that continuum, harness the policy shift to the actual shift that we want to see and realize through you, because you are an important interest group in terms of innovation and making pharmacy education or pharmacy as a practice globally relevant and acknowledged across the globe. And India is well positioned now, way back as we see to now what we are. The fourth important point I would like to highlight is nowadays we are benchmarking quality of pharmacy education or pharmacy as one aspect of higher education, though I would always again reiterate my point that while I'm calling myself and referring to pharmacy education because of the August gathering here, but back of my mind, I always want to identify pharmacy as one of the disciplines amongst many disciplines. It is just one of them, right? So, but essentially what we are referring here is the way we need to reflect upon the depth and the breadth. If pharmacy is the depth, but there is something called breadth, which is very critical. That's where multidisciplinary comes. So to give an example, I was just curiously looking at the National Institutional Ranking Framework, because now pharmacy has its own domain of ranking. And when I just compared the top 5, I'm sure most of you know, Jamia Hamdard, Birla Institute of Technology and Science, JSS Academy, Manipal Academy, and Amrita Vishwavidyapeeth. So you take the top 5 NIRF, right, institutions. What are the commonalities that I see as a person interested in higher education sector, which is what is going to be detrimental for interest groups like you and all the eminent panelists here to further take this thought for the to the respective colleges. Some of the commonalities, 5 commonalities I can see. The Panchamrut, I can say, one of all these 5 are large multidisciplinary university. Second, they are very good at faculty-student ratio. Third, they are anchoring their activities around interdisciplinary research, which leads to better citation and high scores, which is further contribute to NRF. In terms of patents in the field of pharmacy, they're quite high, and that also brings something commonality. And fifth is their funding for research has increased. And interestingly, most of those fundings for projects are interdisciplinary in nature, not only to the pharmacy as a domain. They are able to apply to pharmacy as a domain to some other disciplines, which is what makes them unique. So what we are seeing here is nothing but an evidence of what the recommendations of NEP are and how once you realize them, you're able to see if you consider ranking as one of the parameter of quality. It is not the only parameter of quality. And that is the last 2 points I now want to build on. Is now we are seeing many pharmacy colleges which are standalone and also isolated, or rather what we can say fragmented, right? So I think what it becomes important is to see how one can develop a cluster of this colleges, link with the nearby university and see how they can actually harness the multidisciplinary ecosystem, which is very much critical for creativity and innovation, for instance, the patents that we talk about. Because at some point we get exhausted with the ideas. I think that is where the newness, the innovativeness, the novelty of the thought comes from multidisciplinary perspective. The second is the shift that we are going to see in the typology of institutions. So NEP recommends that going forward, we need to have teaching intensive university with some research intensive university with significant teaching, and degree awarding autonomous college. But that is where my concern is in terms of you all to take this agenda forward, that how now these 3 types are to be reflected on the existing types of colleges and universities which are offering pharmacy education. And that is where most of them are affiliated pharmacy colleges. And that also becomes the biggest barrier for change and critical thinking and the creativity that we want to envisage for a globally renowned pharmacy practice or education. And the last and most important point is our regulatory system has become a biggest challenge. I'm sure all of us here have our own set of opinion and thoughts about it, but NEP also acknowledges this as a biggest challenge. See, that is the reason why NEP accounts for that fact that in Indian higher education sector, we have islands of excellence in sea of mediocrity. Now, the sea of mediocrity is because of not only the internal reasons, but also a lot of externalities, which are anchored around the regulatory aspects. So if you go back to the source of regulation, as all the eminent panelists would know, the regulatory body is supposed to be PSSB, Professional Standard Setting Body. But when they get into the academic standard setting, now the larger question is, this is worth debate, worth exploration. Should we have such a organization or such a body in place, or should it only remain to licensing or professional standard setting body? Is a larger question. I'm sure this has been a debate. It is not a recent debate. It has been a debate since the establishment of the councils of various types, because there are 18 to 19 councils which regulate higher education. I can go breathless naming them like Shankar Mahadevan, but I don't want to get into that. So there are many regulatory bodies. In fact, imagine a university in a year opening itself to 12 to 14 regulatory bodies for each department. It is really impossible, right? So, and hence I would urge all this initiative that IPA-SF is taking up. And I'm very glad that the students have taken up this initiative and see the value of linking what we are aspiring to the reforms of NEP and CF to the pharmacy as a domain, but not as a single domain, but as one of the domain which is opening itself to other disciplines, and to see the value of looking at multidisciplinarity, research, innovation, critical thinking. And all the pharmacy students must have life skill and soft skills. That is very, very critical for us to really take advantage of global opportunities. While you have qualification, you're eligible, but to make you unique, you must have those life skills and soft skills, which are not just unique to pharmacy as a domain, but also beyond that. So with this thoughts, I will pause, because I would like to hear from other eminent panelists, but I wanted to keep it as more as an overview and also as a way forward. So over to you, Mr. Sainath. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your suggestions and for your thoughts to providing, which really we will take forward it by the mentor support and the guidance support of our mentors. So thank you, sir. So moving forward.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Moving forward, I would like to welcome Dr. Rao Vadlamudi, sir, who is Dr. Rao V.S.V. Vadlamudi, sir. Now, I would like to introduce about Dr. Rao Vadlamudi, sir, to all the audience who have joined today. Dr. Rao V.S.V. Vadlamudi, sir, is the immediate past president, the Indian Pharmaceutical Association and at Commonwealth Pharmacist Association. Dr. Rao Vadlamudi, sir, holds a B.Pharm degree from Andhra University and in 1973, followed by M.Pharm in Pharmaceutical Chemistry in the year 1976 from the same institution. He also completed his MSc in 1980 and PhD in the Pharmacology and Toxicology Department in the year 1983 at the University of British Columbia, Canada. He studied 8 years career academic experience and pharmaceutical industry with roles including reader in pharmacology at UDCT Mumbai, and as also professor at Mumbai College of Pharmacy and director at Bombay College of Pharmacy and director at St. Peter's Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Warangal, and adjunct professor at Acharya and BM Reddy College of Pharmacy, Bangalore. In the industry, he holds different positions like head of pharmacology at Hoist Research University Center, head of pharmacology at Piramal Research Center, and Vice President of Discovery Biology at Suven Life Sciences, Vice President and Principal Fellow at Netcar Therapeutics India Limited, and Senior Vice President of Life Sciences at Vimta Labs Private Limited, Hyderabad. He served as an editor for Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences and was the National President of Indian Pharmaceutical Association for 2 terms from the 2014 to 2016 and from 2016 to 2018. He also served as a President of Commonwealth Pharmacist Association for the 2 terms from 2017 to 2020 and 2022. He is actively involved with organizations like the Life Sciences Sector Skill Development Council of India and currently serves as the Professional Secretary for the Southeast Asian Region Farm Forum. Throughout his career, he received numerous awards, including Dr. B.N. Ghosh Memorial Orientation Award, Eminent Pharmacist Award, Acharya P.C. Roy Gold Medal Award, and the IRF Lifetime Achievement Award. With this short introduction, I would like to request Dr. Rao Vadlamudi, sir, to take the floor and address the audience.
Thank you, Sainath. Good afternoon to the respected council or panel members, and to all the people who logged in here as well as in YouTube. Today's discussions on the topic of how and when Indian pharmacists could become pharmacists of the world, and in my mind as a wonderful start by Dr. Chetan Singai, who raised a very, very important point, that how do we bring excellence in pharmacy education? I would put it that way, because he talked overall about, bringing excellence in higher education. And one point that he mentioned, particularly when you're looking at NIRF top 5 rankings, he stressed on the aspect that interdisciplinary research and all the institutions have interdisciplinary interactions between various faculties, etc. From that perspective, let's look at pharmacy. Pharmacy cannot be a standalone subject. It's nothing but excellence of interdisciplinary various aspects that bring out the best in terms of pharmaceutical technology, pharmaceutical sciences, drug discovery or product development, or even when it comes to pharmacy practice. It is not just knowledge of the drug alone. There are so many other aspects that come into picture. Social sciences play a major role in trying to be the best pharmacy practitioner. So we should always be looking at interdisciplinary interactions right at the pharmacy institute level to bring excellence. And out of excellence at the institutional level only, we can create exceptional people that can guide or drive the pharmacy profession, not only in India, but across the globe. So with that, and with profusely thanking Singai sir for giving that perspective to the topic. I was just wondering how to bring that perspective, but he did a wonderful job by setting the base. So I want to talk about how and when Indian pharmacists could become pharmacists of the world. It's a challenging question. It has an internal meaning, how and when. That means we are not. By presuming that we are not, we are asking a question, how and when we could actually become the pharmacists of the world. I want to develop a scenario for you, for the young students. You need to understand that at times you wonder whether I am talking for or I'm against, because I have to bring both aspects. Playing the role of devil's advocate is very important, because sometimes if we say that we are good, we are good, we are good, and we start feeling that, oh, we are the best. But somebody has to stop us and say that, hey, in what aspect are you the best? If you ask a question like that, sometimes you don't find the answer. You say, oh, we are best. Oh, where? What is the subject? So let me bring out a perspective. See, this question, when I talk to our student friends, this question came up because India is already regarded as pharmacy of the world. So Sainath and the team very rightly asked, but when would we become the pharmacist of the world? We are already a pharmacy of the world. Is that correct, Sainath? I think that is how it emerged. The topic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Or from my perspective. You see, here what I talk about is from my perspective. Even before India became the pharmacy of the world, even when India was dependent on imports for essential medicines to take care of the healthcare needs in our country, that means we're talking about early 40s, 50s, even up to 60s. If we start thinking, India has already started providing world-class pharmacists to the world already at that time. We didn't think about it, but let's think about it. India provided, Indian graduates for pharmacy went to United States, UK, and other countries way back in 1950s and 60s, and they registered themselves and became pharmacists. And some of them excelled in the field of pharmacy practice. So Indian pharmacists are already global pharmacists from that perspective. For that matter, when I look at pharmacist, I define it as pharmacist is not just a practitioner. He's a scientist, he's a researcher, he's an educator, he's the teacher, he's the policymaker, and he's the regulator. a pharmacy educated person can do all these roles. So when we talk about pharmacists, we're talking about a whole slew of activities, not just manufacturing pharmacist or the production or practicing pharmacist who will dispense. We talk about the rest also. So when I look at, when I met and interacted with people in the US, I know that there are some Indian professors who settled abroad, who excelled in teaching in the universities, have set up, what we today regard as top level areas like pharmacoeconomics, pharmacoepidemiology, and pharmacy practice. These have not evolved all by themselves. People are responsible for setting them up, and then some Indian scientist or Indian professor names figure out when we look at that. And these people have graduated in India and went there. So that means India has supplied them, the pharmacist, who defined the scope of pharmacy practice in the global context, in developed countries like US or in UK. And now we look at those principles and trying to implement them or bring them to India. So please remember that. And pharmacy practice, for example, my classmates are all graduated in 1973, almost 45, 50 years back, 50 years, or why almost, it's 50 years ago. They are pharmacists, practicing pharmacists, pharmacy shop owners, chain pharmacy owners in United States, various areas. And our friend, Asok Balachandran here, he would agree with me that there's so many of pharmacists. So Indian pharmacists are already full-fledged practicing pharmacists abroad, And mind you, all this happened before we became pharmacy of the world. All these things also happened before we started a formal education into clinical pharmacy or pharmacy practice. We have pharmacy practice in terms of dispensing pharmacy. How do we maintain drugstore, and how do we maintain, drug ledgers, etc., adequate enough to be a pharmacist behind the counter to read a prescription and to deliver, either with a diploma qualification or a bachelor's in pharmacy qualification after registration in PCI. And this remained for several years as we only focused on pharmaceutical sciences and production technologies, because we needed to build or develop drugs or produce drugs to maintain self-sufficiency in essential drugs. That is why our industry developed tremendously. In the same context, when I look at in the US or in the UK, pharmaceutical industry is also developed by Indian pharmacists who have educated from here with bachelor's of pharmacy, and then they got a PhD abroad, and then they became a scientist, and they went into driving position in multinational pharma. So our pharmacists are there. In teaching profession, they are there. In practicing profession, they are there. Not only they are there, they contributed, they defined the scope, and they expanded the scope of those fields. In India, it is not happening. So therefore, my concern is we should not ask the question, when our pharmacists become pharmacists of the globe, we have to ask ourselves, when our graduates become pharmacists that are needed for healthcare in our own country. That is my perspective. See, we have not expanded the scope of pharmacy. Only in 2008, we started the PharmD program. And the graduates came out in 2013. So it is about 10-year-old graduates, and they all say that they can't find proper jobs, And some institutions say that, no, we can find employment for all of our students. Some people say that we did PharmD, but we don't find jobs. It's not a problem of jobs. It is a problem of defining the scope and developing the pharmacy profession in our country. Pharmacy profession means the pharmacist providing pharmaceutical care. Pharmaceutical care for all patients, whether they are in the community setting, whether they're in the hospital setting, whether they are of this condition, whether they are of that condition, whether it is critical care or whether it is geriatric care, whether it is cancer care, what I don't care. But the pharmaceutical care must be provided by our own pharmacists. So if we ask a question, is it happening in India? It is not. So first let us do it for our country, before we can say that our pharmacists can be global pharmacists. But let me tell you one thing. If our pharmacists excel in providing pharmaceutical care and bring out better outcomes, better healthcare system, and they work in teams as healthcare professionals and bring out better healthcare provision for masses across the country, they would definitely be global pharmacists, because India has a environment, has a patient population across India. It's a very complex situation that is representing several global situations, geographical locations. We have conditions that prevailed in Africa, prevail in India. We have conditions that prevailed in Alaska, prevail in India. We have conditions that they're in sub-Saharan, African countries. We have them. There are conditions that prevail in tropical forests. We have them. People are living in all these environments, and it's a challenge to provide them. Okay, I'll pause here and make a different statement here. Government of India felt that it is a real challenge to provide to make life-saving drugs available to the population that is located in all these complexities that I talked about. So they talked about producing quality medications at affordable cost and then making them available by transporting them over there. In the whole scenario, that is what is our Ayushman Bharat and Jan Aushadhi and all those schemes are about. In that zeal to do that, Government of India forgot about one small aspect, that these medicines, quality medicines, should be also provided to those masses under quality pharmaceutical care and pharmaceutical advice to bring out the best out of the medicines, without having the medication problems or medication-induced, problems such as overdosage, underdosage, wrong dosage, polypharmacy, whatever, all those things. They, in the zeal to provide the medicines, they did not put the pharmacist in the proper perspective. It is for us to do that. The day we do that with great emphasis and efficacy and impact the outcomes in the country, health outcomes for poor and rural populations in our country, our pharmacists then certainly will be regarded as global pharmacists, because we have to do pharmacy under disaster conditions, pharmacists for military, pharmacists for various conditions like pandemics, pandemic control. Pharmacists should be able to advise and vaccinate people. Pharmacists should be able to monitor patient conditions to tell whether their blood pressure is in control or their blood sugar is in control, whether their medications is right, whether the medications are doing the right things, all that. I'm at least happy that in this audience, we have Raj Vaidya, a practicing pharmacist in Goa, Panjim. He does provide most of those services himself in his pharmacy. That it's not a hearsay. I witnessed it. So when we have pharmacists like him all over the country and providing utmost care for pharmacy where it is needed, defining the scope and the extent and sustaining that care, then our pharmacists would certainly become global pharmacists. That is the answer for the question that Sainath has raised from my perspective. But we have to, once we reach those positions, we have to sustain them. Today, how difficult it is to sustain our position as global pharmacy. The quality issues keep knocking on the door day in and day out. Now, today we are really happy that we are producing so many quality products, and then so many approved plants are in India, and we are sending medicines to almost every country in the globe. there knocks the problem that Indian-made cough syrups are substandard. They have this problem, they have that problem, and the industry is trying to defend that. Regulators are trying to defend that. Why do we have to defend a situation like that? We have to spot the, black sheep and knock it out, rather than protect it. See, therefore, it is absolutely essential for us to sustain. So it is important for us to develop, important for us to define the scope, important for us to train ourselves, equip ourselves to meet the defined scope and sustain that. We're on the path. I wouldn't say we are reached there, but we are on the path. And I'm sure one day we will reach that position. But don't look at retired, partially retired or fully retired guys to change the world for you. You are the guys who are to change the world. But now with the direction or with the ideas that I have given, we have to develop the pharmacy care in India, execute that, demonstrate that we can do those things, and then we can claim that we are pharmacists for the globe. And for that, a lot of interdisciplinary interactions are necessary. I want to just close it by saying, going back to Mr. Singai, that the interdisciplinary, we can't stand alone and achieve all these things. The interdisciplinary, machine learning, AI and all those things, medical technologies, everything would come, genomics has already made a huge impact. Now, with all these things, we have to keep ourselves up to date and do that. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think I took 15 minutes, 5 minutes more than you asked, but I think I can borrow it from Dr. Narayana's time. Thank you. Thank you, Sainath. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir, and thanks for your advice. Definitely, we look forward and you try to implement through all your guidance and suggestions. Thank you, sir. So now we are moving forward. So now I would like to welcome Dr. S. Sriram, sir, who is a former Secretary, Education Division, the Indian Pharmaceutical Association. I would like to introduce Dr. S. Sriram, sir. Dr. S. Sriram, sir, who has completed his bachelor's degree at Institute of Pharmaceutical Technology, Annamalai University in the year 1990. After his bachelor's degree, he gained industry experience by working with Glaxo India Limited in Delhi and Haryana for 2 years. He then joined Cadila as an area manager in the Mangalore for 1 year. During 1993 to 1995, he pursued his post-graduation in pharmacology at JSS College of Pharmacy, Ooty, where he earned a gold medal and Best Outgoing Student Award. Dr. S. Sriram, sir, completed his doctoral program focused on evaluation of adverse drug reactions and drug interaction monitoring. In the year 1995, he joined the College of Pharmacy at Sri Ramakrishna Institute of Paramedical Sciences, Coimbatore. Currently, he leads the Department of Pharmacy Practice. He has over 100 publications in the various national and international journals. He received Best Teacher Award from Tamil Nadu Dr. MGR Medical University in the year 2011. Dr. S. Sriram, sir, serves as the Chief Editor of Pharmacy Practice newsletter at the institution. He is also an advisory board member and a reviewer for several Indian and international journals. He serves as a doctoral committee member in the various universities and nominated as a subject expert in the ethical committee of Sri Ramakrishna Hospital, Coimbatore. Dr. S. Sriram, sir, has delivered over 150 lectures at national and international conferences. He is the member of the Board of Studies in the various universities. He received the Outstanding Pharmacy Faculty of the Year 2017 award from the IPA Anantapur branch. He serves as the Secretary of Bioethics Unit of the International Network of UNESCO Chair in Bioethics. He also held the position of Honorary Secretary, the Central Executive Council at Indian Pharmaceutical Association, Education Division from 2018 to 2022. With this brief introduction of Dr. S. Sriram, sir, I would like to welcome Dr. S. Sriram, sir. Sir, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sainath. In fact, I'm really privileged to be here among the panelists today. And respected the president of IPA, respected the past president, Dr. Chetan sir, and all the other panelists over here. Very good afternoon to one and all. As the other two speakers have mentioned, We have achieved a lot in the pharma sector throughout the globe. You can say very well, we have, as the saying goes, that pharmacy hub of the world. India is the pharmacy hub of the world. Yes, it's very correct. We have got a lot of good quality products which has come out, but quality use of products, that is where the problem is. The quality products are there, but quality use of products are not there. What I mean to say is, as Dr. Rao was telling, the pharmaceutical care only can help us to do this quality use of products. Even though we have got a lot of diversified opportunities for pharmacy students in our country, the choice of where or what suits the student, that should be very much clearly understood by the students, first of all. See, pharmacy is one profession where once they study this pharmacy course, they've got diversified opportunities. They can be as a community pharmacist, they can go into clinical research organization, they can become a hospital pharmacist, they can go as a clinical pharmacist, or they can go into the research-oriented or industry-related or regulatory. A lot of opportunities are there, but only thing is the student need to analyze themselves where they fit into. This is what is the problem nowadays, because students, they take up some job and they leave the job saying that it doesn't suit me later, right? So which is the my cup of tea that they should be able to analyze first of all. And as I was telling you, this industry-oriented pharmacy practice is very good. Industry level, we are, as everybody knows, the third largest producer in the world by volume, and we have got around more than 40% of the medications used in the USA is from here in India, and 1 in 3 vaccines are from India, and more than 80% of antiretroviral drugs used in the world is from India. Everything is fine, right? We have got good manpower, everything is fine. But the problem, what is expected from the industry or what is expected by the recruiters of the pharmacy students is a skilled pharmacist. Here, I would like to emphasize the difference between the knowledge and skill. So everybody is knowledge oriented. Yes, knowledge is required. I do agree with that. But whether they are skilled, what is skilled person? The person who gains knowledge and who is practicing that knowledge, who is able to practice the knowledge, practice oriented knowledge, that I call it a skill. So skilled personnel is very much essential, and that is the shortage of manpower by the industries nowadays. So we should become skilled pharmacists rather than the knowledgeable pharmacist. And I also say that a particular recruiting agency, for example, in a hospital, if they want to recruit you as a clinical pharmacist, why should they recruit you? They are NABH accredited hospitals where they expect you to do some work for them, which helps them in the accreditation process. For example, maybe you help them in prescription auditing, or in pharmacovigilance ADR monitoring, or material vigilance program, or in drug interaction monitoring, or in dosage adjustment or cost minimization, whatever the pharmaceutical care activities, everything should be focused towards patient care. Because ultimately, patients are the people whom patients are our customers, whether let it be industry or community or clinical or hospital, wherever it is, patients are our customers. So, you know, in abroad countries, the pharmacists are respected high, very high. That is because they do a lot of patient-related activities. Ultimately, whatever they do, they see to it that the patient care is achieved there. The outcome is patient care. So that is what is required here. And most of the times, when we are there in this pharmaceutical care, especially the since I'm in the education line, I'll say that the PharmD students, they take care of this pharmaceutical care in the hospital where they're attached to. But very enthusiastically, there are some mistakes. What do they do is, there are few colleges, I don't want to name any college, but there are few places where the PharmD students are deployed inside the hospital from the first year onwards, which is not the right practice, I believe. Because only after knowing about what is pharmaceutical care and how to produce or how to perform this pharmaceutical care, then only they can be deputed. So this is one mistake what I feel that from my education side, the few teachers or colleges are doing this mistake. And there are areas, the gray areas, where the doctors doesn't come into. Let us not infringe into the doctor's territory. We are not going to diagnose anything, right? We are not going to go for any treatment. but the treatment plan, right? Rationality in the treatment, right? So without infringing into the doctor's territory, the gray areas, there are a lot of gray areas like counseling, ADR monitoring, even the dosage adjustment, a lot of gray areas where the doctors doesn't come into, right? They don't bother about this bioavailability. They are not very much concerned about all the other things, half-life, everywhere the pharmacist can play a role, right? So this is one thing which I wanted to say. And one more thing where we lack to compete globally is the institution-industry interaction. The institution-industry interaction is very poor here in the country, which need to be developed. And whatever the projects we do, as the previous two speakers were telling, the interdisciplinary projects have to be carried out, which really helps. And whatever the projects carried out has to be shared actually. Even a small information, say for example, a sensitivity pattern study, which is done in the place where I'm working, the hospital, that has to be shared with the other hospitals so that they will know what type of activities or what type of projects are going on and what is the current scenario about the sensitivity pattern or antibiotic resistance. All these things will help them, say for example, a real SWOT analysis have to be done so that you don't demand respect, right? You can command respect if everything is done like that. And all these recruitments are done by the companies. They require this skilled pharmacist, and that is how once you develop your skill towards the patient care, I am sure we can very well become the global pharmacist and always think globally and act locally. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights. And as you mentioned, we shouldn't demand the respect, we should command the respect. So we look forward to go ahead under your suggestions and guidance you always provide. Thank you, sir. So moving forward, I would like to welcome Mr. Raj Vaidya, sir, who is the former chairperson at IPA Community Pharmacy Division and Community Pharmacist in India. So I would like to introduce about Raj Vaidya, sir. Raj Vaidya, sir, holds an M.Pharm degree and is a fellow of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association. Since 1989, he has been the chief pharmacist and partner at the family-owned Hindu Pharmacy in Panaj, Goa, India. Raj Vaidya, sir, has held several leadership roles within the Indian Pharmaceutical Association, including Vice President and Chairperson of the Community Pharmacy Division. He has served as the editor for IPA-CPD, E-Times, the official bi-monthly publication since the year 2015. Raj Vaidya, sir, has significant projects, including the pilot project on accreditation of pharmacists in India, collaboration with Drug Controller General of India and WHO, Indian Countries Office. He also played a key role in the development of GPP guidelines and was a major contributor to the GPP training manual for the community retail pharmacists. Raj Vaidya, sir, has been part of core teams responsible for various IPA initiatives, such as Campaign for Awareness on Responsible Use of Medications, National Pharmacy Week, and Pharmacist Day. He actively organizes continuous professional developmental programs for community and hospital pharmacists and serves as a resource person for such initiatives. Raj Vaidya, sir, has been an invitee member for different committees of Pharmacy Council of India related to pharmacy practice regulations and education regulations. He has authored and co-authored various books and booklets related to healthcare and pharmacy, in addition to contributing articles and columns on health-related issues for the consumers. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Mr. Raj Vaidya, sir, to address the gathering. Sir, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sainath. Can I share my screen?
Yes, sir, sure.
Thank you. Respected dignitaries and other panelists, very obliged to be present here. And thank you very much, IPA-SF, for this wonderful opportunity to express my views. I made a short presentation and I will stick to my 10 minutes also. As I understand it, India is the pharmacy of the world because we are able to supply good quality products across the world, and we have proven it, especially during the pandemic. Now, what I understand from this particular topic and what I think IPA-SF is getting at is how the practicing pharmacist, the face of pharmacy practice, can be presented. And as Dr. Rao said, I think we should, of course, present it to our country first, and automatically we will get that recognition. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Thank you. It was in the 1970s where the Western world, USA, UK, and other countries, in which the community pharmacy, clinical pharmacy revolution actually began. And we had our very own father of pharmacy, Professor Sriram, who at that time had envisioned this and had predicted that India will soon shift focus from a product-oriented to a patient-oriented approach. So this has been his vision. Of course, unfortunately, we have not been able to live up fully up to it. But of course, we have a lot of hurdles and challenges. And I will try and deal with a few challenges of which I see as the biggest challenges. The biggest challenge that I see is the presence of a pharmacist in a pharmacy. And we all know this, that a pharmacist is not always present all the time in many of the places of the pharmacies. And in some states, the situation is very bad. Of late, of course, we have heard of and debated and sent off so many letters and made a lot of noise about the Jharkhand, where pharmacist was not required to be present. And of course, the situation is quite similar in many of the places. And because of this, what happens is that pharmacists are hesitant to join pharmacies because they don't feel welcome in pharmacy. Because most of our pharmacies are owned by non-pharmacists. The certificate which I show you here is because of the practice that in this, I don't know to what extent it is, but it is there of renting of certificates to pharmacies. So pharmacies are actually not there, but there are certificates on the wall of the pharmacy or medical store. And how many pharmacists wearing aprons do we see, or how many aprons do we see in pharmacies? That is also another evident aspect. And the other thing is also similar situation exists in primary health centers, where pharmacists many of the times are not appointed, they are missing. And then we complain that even attendants and nurses are dispensing medicines. So these things are also happening. So the thing is a very poor implementation of the law. And this is, I feel, as the biggest challenge, number one. Second challenge is the availability of prescription medicine. Promoting medicines and deep discounting and huge discounts, to which I feel now of late that medicines are being promoted as commodities. And this is all at a great risk to public health. And again, there is a poor implementation of the law. So these two things, absence of pharmacists and sale of medicine without prescriptions, these are, I feel, a super combo for a disaster. And that is very unfortunate. So the vision of from product focus to patient focus, it takes a lot of shape. And due to the efforts of all professional organizations, professional pharmacists, to talk about it, to discuss it, try and bring curricular changes, start M-Pharm in pharmacy practice, bring in PharmD, and so many sessions and everything, and talk about it. And slowly we were trying to bring it into patient focus. Ultimately, again, it is now unfortunately shifting to product focus. So we need to have serious introspection on it. Coming to pharmacy education, it's the only country in the world where a 2-year diploma is valid to practice pharmacy. And the syllabus change after around 30 years happened in 2020. But still, I feel the 2 years of a diploma and 3 months of training is still not sufficient to make a proper pharmacist who will project the profession of pharmacy. No doubt it is useful, but then we need to do better. The B.Pharm pharmacy practice course was a 2-year bridge course for D.Pharms to become a pharmacy practice B.Pharms. That has not been so popular. For B.Pharm course, 4 years is heavily industry oriented, and we do not have any pre-registration training for that. And another thing is that The moment you become a B.Pharm, you answer the exam, you get the results, you are eligible to practice pharmacy. You don't have any exposure in the pharmacy. You don't have exposure handling prescriptions, to handling patients, and you are permitted to practice pharmacy. Of course, I also am from the same breed, and it's very difficult to actually practice pharmacy until you need a lot of self-learning, and it takes a lot of time. The PharmDs are coming out in big numbers, and they do have the clinical strength because the exit exams are missing for diploma and PharmD and for B.Pharm as well. And another interesting thing is whether the PharmDs will take part in, whether they will join in community and hospital pharmacy. Currently, the numbers are very, very low because they believe and they feel by their training, they should be clinical pharmacists. So the community pharmacy and hospital pharmacy as such is not benefiting. Based on the lot of talks of patient focus, PharmD, and the introduction of certain aspects in the curriculum, the students have over the last 3 decades become aware and inclined to do patient-oriented roles. That's good. But unfortunately, for them, the career options are more lucrative elsewhere. So very few end up in doing the actual practice in the actual practice setting. And continuing education, we have a compulsion of attending 2 days of continuing education over a 5-year period for renewal of our pharmacy registration. Unfortunately, that's too low. Secondly, very few states in the country are actually implementing this. And the 5th challenge that I see is that a blueprint for pharmacy in India is missing. We do not have that vision put down on paper. We do not have a roadmap for whether it is industrial pharmacy or whether it's for what we are talking today about pharmacy practice, pharmacy education, and the pharmacy profession as such. With these 5 challenges, which I see are very important, I would also like to make some suggestions. The first thing I would like to say is that we have to accept these facts and deficiencies, and we need to speak about them. All the things that I mentioned, unless we speak about them, unless we talk, accept them, it's going to be very difficult to change. No point in pushing everything under the carpet and staying mum. So it's all us, the stakeholders, who can collectively tackle them. And as I've always been saying, it's the students who have a very big responsibility as well as they have the capability of bringing about the change. So suggestion 1 is for the absence of pharmacists and sale of prescription medicines. The only solution is strict implementation of the law. I don't see it in any other way. This will definitely improve not only the health outcomes, but it will also improve the image of the pharmacy profession. This will bring about, I feel, a huge increase in the job opportunities for pharmacists. Today, I think we have more than 1 lakh pharmacists passing out every year, but it's D.Pharm, B.Pharm, and now PharmDs. So that opportunity, I'm sure, will increase tremendously. So we need a roadmap for upgradation of drug laws, because they are quite archaic, and implementation. We need to bring about the curricular changes and its implementation. And we need the roadmap for pharmacy practice and its implementation. And pharmacy practice research is a very good innovative tool which shows us what is lacking and what improvements and how we can make those improvements. So we need also to focus on that. Things will take time because especially many of us are in our comfort zones. To bring about sudden change is difficult, but what I say is we need to do it step by step, slowly and gradually, but we need to do it definitively. This is just an example of what I'm trying to project, like a blueprint for pharmacy. Now, these are just my vision, my thoughts. But with that, I would like to say that these need to be discussed thoroughly so that everybody is involved. So we need the short-term vision, what we would like to achieve by 2025, and more importantly, by 2030. And a little longer term for 2040 and maybe 2050. I've just put down a roadmap for pharmacy education in India. Just some of my thoughts. and whether we could work on these lines, whether we can have a pharmacy practice and a science as two separate streams. Definitely both are pharmacists, but each in their own expertise, because unless we focus on practice, we are not going to gain the expertise in practice. And coming to the diploma in pharmacy, whether we want to stick to it or we want to stop it shortly, or whether we want to upgrade it to 3 years or make it a 4-year B.Pharm practice course, or whether we are thinking of having a B.Pharm with 2 years of common and 2 years of specialization, or 2 years for practice and 2 years for sciences. And Pharm D, compulsion for pre-registration training as well as pre-registration examination, mandatory increase the number of hours for continuing professional development. So all these things we need to discuss, and we need to have certain timelines for all of this. These are just my thoughts, because for pharmacy practice, to specialize, we need to think of having teacher practitioners. Community pharmacy is a very good profession, and worldwide, most of the pharmacists get their recognition because they are into community pharmacy. They are the face of the profession. So in India, we have 7, 8, 9 lakh pharmacies. So 7, 8, 9 lakh pharmacies can be the face of the profession, provided we do the right pharmacy practice in all of these. Hospital pharmacy, a clinical pharmacist, all of these can benefit largely if we can have such type of focus pharmacy practice, as well as has been mentioned, interdisciplinary learning. And here, interdisciplinary learning for practice would also include learning together with nurses, learning together with doctors and other health allied professionals. That also can have mutual respect. And of course, the pharmaceutical sciences, which right now I will not focus. So what is important is to have national consultation, to take opinions of everybody, of all the stakeholders involved in the pharmacy profession. And of course, most important and very important are the pharmacy students. Of course, the pharmacy association, the council and the health department. And then of course, implementation, which is very easy. To sum it all, students are our future definitely. And it is very important to groom our pharmacists well right in their college days. Once they get out, it's a little difficult to catch them and groom them. So I feel that is the best bet that we have, and we need to work on the suggestions that I have made, and I hope we can try and do something of it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for put forthing the roadmap, and definitely with your suggestions and guidance and consultations, and we will look forward to implement and bring the changes in the vision and the people's observation on the particular aspects. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. And next, we would like to move forward. There is an update as the panel member, Dr. Chetan Singai, sir, would be leaving us as he has some other commitment. So we would like to thank Chetan Singai, sir, for his time.
Thank you. Sorry to leave in between, but today we have a meeting at NAC. So please excuse me. I'm just heading out. So I will I have one question which Mr. Sainath have shared the response to you on WhatsApp for the question. So after the panel is over, you can share that. Thank you. Thank you all.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singai.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. So moving forward. So next, our panel member is Mr. Asok Balachandran, sir, who is a registered pharmacist at United States of America. With the speaker's permission, I would like to introduce Mr. Asok Balachandran, sir. Mr. Asok Balachandran, sir, is a seasoned registered pharmacist with a 30-year career in healthcare, known for his exceptional contributions. Currently practices at Malabar Discount Pharmacy in Melbourne, Florida, emphasizing patient-centric care, compounding, and unit dose packaging. His journey began with a B.Pharm degree in the year 1991, followed by an international career at United Arab Emirates, holding influential roles. Transitioned to the United States of America in 2000, earning a registered pharmacist license and achieving recognition for the leadership at Walgreens, CVS, and Walmart. Managed a substantial 24-hour pharmacy team, including 9 pharmacists and 16 technicians with automated dispensing, and advocated healthcare through organizing immunization camps, training pharmacists in vaccine administration, cardiac pulmonary resuscitation, and post-immunization care. Mentorship extended to interns from academia and the corporate sector, and who also held different roles in independent pharmacies in Florida and New York, facilitating the services like medicine delivery and home care. And in the UAE, he oversaw market research, clinical trials, product registrations, and medication launches alongside training medical representatives and organizing the conferences. And who is also multilingual skills made him allowed for the personal patient connections, minor ailment diagnosis, and prescription recommendations. With this short brief introduction about Mr. Asok Balachandran, sir, I would like to welcome the panelist member, and I would like to request him to address the gathering. Sir, floor is yours. Sir, you're on mute. Hello. Sir, you are on the mute, sir. We are unable to hear you. Sir, you are on the mute. Can you please unmute yourself? Oh, sorry. Mohit, can you please make Ashok sir as a co-host?
Give me a minute.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Sorry. Yeah,
All right, that took 30 seconds of mine.
sorry.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. And you took away 2 minutes. I didn't need that introduction, I guess. I would rather talk about the subject directly. And I'm going to right now put myself on a timer because as Mr. Raj has always given me time, and I've always overstepped the time because I have way too much to say. So good afternoon, everybody, and without much ado, I'd like to start off straight away so I can make best use of my time that I've got. So I would start by saying that we might have to kind of rephrase the entire topic right now. After everybody has spoken, there is so much they have spoken that I probably can talk for a few hours. That's how much of stuff they have given me in their different sections. So I was taking down notes as I was talking, as everybody else was talking, and they have given me a lot of material as well, which I can include in what I have to say. So we should probably talk about how our pharmacists can become pharmacists on the level of the global pharmacists in terms of requirement of their competency. This is where I am heading. So firstly, just a few statistics that I would like to bring in. I did some research and I had spoken to the PharmD students at C.L. Baid Mehta College of Pharmacy that was arranged jointly by Raj as well as Professor Mohanta here in Chennai. I wanted to go and get a feel of the students, see where they are, what is happening, because we had learned pharmacy with the syllabus that was updated in 1947, and so I wanted to see where do we stand, what have we done. We have just rephrased everything, and we have multiple different professors teaching the same exact syllabus in so many aspects, but with different titles and so on and so forth. I spoke to them, we had an interactive session, and there were a few discoveries I made, which I will share in the course of speaking. So firstly, we have about 4,050 or odd pharmacy colleges in India, and we are bringing out approximately we are bringing out about 4 lakh pharmacists a year. And if you're talking about manufacturers, we have about 1,300 manufacturing units who can only absorb so many. So 2 years you already have 8 lakhs pharmacists in India. So, and we only have less than 8 lakh independent pharmacies. So here we have a situation already. Supply versus demand is already a problem here. So that is something that we have to address in terms of defining the pharmacist's profession. What is a pharmacist? We have a definition for a chemist. We have a definition for a druggist. For a pharmacist, it's vague. It's all over the place. We don't have a clear pharmacist, a profession for a pharmacist. People call them compounders, people call them whatever. Essentially, what we are making after a B.Pharm graduate comes out and is ready to practice without any certification, without any exam, without any licensing procedure, he is already out there to dispense medications. And unfortunately, what happens in this particular state is that he is like a bull in a china shop. I, for myself, passed out of pharmacy college, and had no clue what's happening. Didn't get a chance to work in India, but I went overseas and had to learn pharmacology 3 times because I had to take 3 different licensing exams across the world, and found out that I hardly knew any pharmacology as far as the practice is concerned. I didn't know anything about what's happening, and I was trained for manufacturing, and that was not the job I took up, and said, you know what, now let me start from scratch, which is what I had to do. We had students wise, for example, I had to take the foreign pharmacy graduate equivalence exam in the state of New York. Foreign pharmacy graduates equivalency, none of the pharmacists in the US, I repeat, none of them will pass that exam if they take that exam. I don't understand what kind of equivalency they're talking about. They just want to filter us out, because we as pharmacists are a lot more competent, because we work, we use our knowledge, we work, and we are a lot more in the act when we are at work. Now let's talk about competency. Competency wise also, we don't have this lackadaisical attitude where we feel that, you know, this isn't something that I have to learn, or that isn't something. We tend to learn everything because we want to be there, have a good job, earn well, because we don't have a profession back in our country. This is what our problem is. I am back here now, want to give something back to my country, where I have done my pharmacy, I might have earned my degree and my licensing and practiced overseas, but I would like to give back to my own country. I'm here to see what I can do for them. Let's talk about a few of the statistics now. Iatrogenic deaths. Iatrogenic deaths, as all of us know, are because of medical errors that are done by doctors or treatment or whatever. In the US, it's 251,000 deaths per year. You know how much it is in India? It is 52 lakhs in India. So if we break it down, daily we have 14,246 people dying in India. These statistics are from 5 years back. 687 in the US. Every hour we have 593 people dying due to iatrogenic deaths. Why so? Because there is no accountability. There is no pharmacist involved. The 251,000 deaths are the deaths after 96% of the errors are prevented by pharmacists who are overlooking every drug utilization review, drug interactions, and health conditions, as well as whatever is required in terms of patient care. As Dr. Sriram said, pharmacovigilance, patient care is a big part of pharmaceutical practice in the US. We are among the top 3 professionals who are trusted the most in the US. For what reason? Is because we are the last stop where something unnecessary, unfortunate can be prevented. Do we have that kind of a situation over here? We don't. We do not have a profession that defines our role in the pharmaceutical industry. We don't have licensing exams where we can see and hold people accountable. We don't have continuing education credits that are required. Every couple of years is what we need in the National Association of Board of Pharmacy in the US. Continuing education for certification, continuing education in terms of practice, live continuing education, not somebody else taking the continuing education for these people. Now, other than this, there has to be a mandatory requirement to maintain the license with current knowledge, which is not there. Electronic records required in order to have central patient information source, so we can find out where the patient has gone before. Right now, we have multiple drug interactions where patients are taking multiple different medications which probably are interacting left, right, and center, and that is why we have so many different iatrogenic deaths that are happening. Other than this, professional standard. Dr. Singai is not here. He's talking about soft skills. Soft skills, yes. Application. Where do we have application? Do we have application of our knowledge? We don't have application to the extent that we need. Now, in the US, now for example, we are talking about accountability. We are held in high esteem only and only because of what we do in terms of patient care, what we bring to the table as patient care. So we, in my opinion, to have some sort of competency in this particular field, have to rewrite our entire pharmaceutical syllabus. This is my opinion. We have a D Pharm, we have a B Pharm, we have an M Pharm, we have a Pharm D. For what? I don't understand why we should have so many different things going on. Bachelors, somebody wants to finish, let them finish bachelors and get it over with it. But what are they going to do after that? This is an issue right now. So we, in my opinion, should have a Pharm D, plain. Somebody who wants to go to industry, have an M Pharm. That's about it. We cannot have so many different degrees being handed over left, right, and center, and have people who are handing over all these things over the counter like candy, and we don't care. 14,000, almost 15,000 people dying a day because of medical errors is a huge number. I know I have like 14 seconds, but I'll try to make use of that too. So at the end of the day, in my opinion, what we need is we have to meet somebody who can make decisions, and we have to rewrite the curriculum for the pharmacist, which will also include the clinical pharmacy, clinical pharmacology, application of community pharmacy practice. I am willing to give continuing education to people. Raj had given me opportunities to talk to people where I can educate them as to what else can we do to the community or as community pharmacists, but nobody's willing to listen. Nobody wants to learn. Everybody is concerned about earning money. Yes, that will be the primary concern when there is very little money involved in the profession of pharmacy. We have to uplift ourselves to the level of doctors, where we stick to pharmacology. In the US, the next round that we are going to be talking about is prescribing. Doctors are not going to be prescribing in the future. Pharmacists are going to be prescribing. Doctors will stick to pharmacotherapeutics because they only have one paper of pharmacology. We study 6 years of pharmacology. So obviously, who knows more here about pharmacology? We will provide the prescriptions, and we will overlook every single MARS, every single treatment plan, and we will pass it. For which, like I spoke to the College of Pharmacy, it'll take one more minute, College of Pharmacy students, I said, we have to know the how to interpret lab results, how to interpret the different investigative results that come. I'm not talking about EKG, but other than that, we should be able to interpret and come to a comprehensive plan as to how we need to deal with the patients. Otherwise, we will be going on talking about all these things and nothing is going to happen. We have to have a clear program where we will transform a pharmacist from a shopkeeper to a healthcare professional. This is what I have to say. I mean, I have to wind up, I know. But if there is anything, I'll be more than happy to answer the questions. I have worked in every possible field in the US, and so I have a lot of experience with this, how to go about the whole thing, what can be done, and my only issue is who can do it. We are willing to provide. I'm willing to serve it on a platter and give him. Just plug it in wherever it is required. Who is willing to do it is my question, because my fellow pharmacists I care about, because they studied, they become jack of all trades, and they cannot do anything at the end of the day. This is where we stand in India as pharmacists. But I think we, with the Indian brains that we have, can do a whole lot for the whole world than they would ever know. Trust me, I know we can. And if somebody is willing, we will.
Thank you so much, sir, for emphasizing and putting forth the questions and providing the practices, how it is being practiced at United States and other parts of the world. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. Now, I think we have to move towards the question Q&A. So where we can discuss more on the aspects of the topic, how and when could Indian pharmacists could become pharmacist of the world. So today it's been really an optimistic to listen all the different panelist members who have put forth their views and visions. And I think at end of this talk, we can as I would like to address the thing. Today, there are different stakeholders who have joined today's session from education, from academic, industry. More than 387 audience have been there who are also being practicing retail pharmacists and also being from industry and also faculties, principals, and students who have been there. So this particular discussion could definitely motivate and could bring certain changes in the moving forward for the future. So now I request all our panel members to open for the panel discussion, and all the audience, you can put forth your questions in the chat box. So before going to that, we have got one question from the audience. Dr. Subhash C. Mandal, sir, who have put forth like suggestions on adapting national education, NEP, National Education Policy in India. So Dr. Chetan Singai, sir, before leaving, he have sent his views on this particular question. With his permission, I would like to read out. My views on the curriculum revision or inclusion is review and revising the pharmacy curriculum to incorporate national education policy, emphasizing the multidisciplinarity, flexibility, and skill development. Consider introducing interdisciplinary courses in the modules that integrate pharmacy with other relevant fields, and foster the collaboration with other departments or disciplines within the healthcare or at your institution to promote multidisciplinary learning, and exploring the opportunities of the projects, workshops, or research initiatives with the faculties from related fields. So these are the few points which have been provided by Dr. Chetan Singai, sir, on the particular question. And Dr. Chetan Singai, Dr. Subhash Mandal, sir, also said that today's discussion is highly relevant as today in patient safety. And we are starting today as a National Pharmacovigilance Week, which is being celebrated across the nation. We also would like to wish all the participants and audience who are listening happy National Pharmacovigilance Week. So moving forward, and also to the panel members, we would like to intimate, in the month of January, we have started a initiative called Voice of Students. So where we have listening to different complaints and we have listed out certain things from those complaints to discuss today on that aspect. So first, my question to the panel members, each panel member can provide your 30 seconds to 1 minute view on that particular question. At present, there is a relevant syllabus is being not there as we are updating, as Mr. Ashok sir has been mentioning. There should be one particular course which should address the course requirements or the industry requirements. We have a lot of different courses like Diploma in Pharmacy, Bachelor in Pharmacy, and PharmD. Generally, we organize the student exchange program. So recently, we had an opportunity to speak with Egypt students and Kenya students. So Egypt students were mentioning they only have a particular course called PharmD. So till their 5 years course, they do their equivalent everyone, but in their end of the year, they decide whether they want to go to in academia or industry or a hospital setup. So why can't we have such practice in India? What would be the challenges or what would be the opportunities to implement such single course for the pharmacy? So we can start with Rao Vadlamudi, sir.
Well, first of all, the will and intention should be there.
Will and intention. Yes, sir.
Pharmacy Council of India over the past 60 years had a umpteen number of opportunities to redefine. At one time, they wanted to close diploma in pharmacy colleges. Then they had taken a decision not to, and they started BPharm colleges. And over a period of time, they have given more and more. And then now PharmD, more and more, now bridge courses, more and more. So it's like adding. As you add newer layers, you have to retire the old ones. There was golden opportunity to transition one course into the other, but they never did. Why I am blaming PCI is because they hold the key. If I say that this should not be right, and if I say the blueprint Raj has developed. I have seen that, and we talked about that when I was the IPA president. We did talk about the blueprint and other things. It's only that we talk and we write a letter to the government, because we are not an authority. We are not an agency that can implement by just, thing. But the reality is what Dr. Balachandran has said, that you have to have the most relevant course, relevant structure for the country needs, whether it is industry or whether it is for pharmacy practice. And these streams must be able to generate future teachers, because today we lack the teachers. We have pharmacy practice, but how many pharmacy practice teachers are there? Sriram can answer that. How many he can count, As numbers, we have hundreds, but how many are competent? I'll tell you, many a times when we talk about such things on platforms, the teachers are the first people who will walk away. They're not interested. They're only interested in certificate. Certificate, if it can go on as a continuous education program, such that they can submit that for the renewal of their registration. We have a renewal program. And we have to show that we have done so many years or so many hours of continuous education, that these conferences will provide the certificate. So we have to be brutally honest about our own intentions. We are not there to change. We only talk. That's my answer.
Thank you, sir. And we are really happy to have such a great panel members where we are put forth different questions, but before answering before putting the questions, you're providing answers for us. So thank you so much, sir, for looking for providing such forward answers for us. Thank you. And I would like to request next Professor Sriram, sir, to provide his insights.
I've been listening to all these discussions. According to me, for example, if a person, a layman, wants to open a pharmacy, instead of studying the full PharmD 6 years course, his idea is very clear that he wants to open a pharmacy. So why don't we stick on to the 2 years program, which suits only for him? Of course, we need to have the CT, the continuing pharmacy education, or the exit exam or pre-registration qualification. All those things we can make it mandatory. But if you keep a single course for the entire pharmacy, those who wanted to limit themselves to community pharmacy, should they study the entire 4 to 5 years of the pharmacy course? That is one thing, because we have the population of 140 crores, and we need to cater the public, and we need more pharmacists also. At the same time, we need to have quality pharmacists, professional pharmacists. That is also is there. And as Dr. Rao sir was talking, the teachers, the pharmacy practice teachers have to come forward to do a lot of homework to teach the students regarding this pharmacy practice and pharmaceutical care activities. That is what is still lacking here in India. Right? But I'm sure the things are getting better than before when compared to the job opportunities, because I'm seeing the students who is getting employed in regulatory, those who finish PharmD, is getting employed in clinical pharmacists, who are going abroad and getting writing the examinations and going as working as pharmacists there. A lot of opportunities are there, even nowadays with medical writing, coding, so many areas they are getting appointed. The opportunities are plenty, but whether they have the skills, competency skills to take care of those opportunities. That is what is the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request Raj Vaidya, sir, to provide his insights.
As I mentioned earlier, if we try to do something suddenly, there will be a rebound effect and we will come back to square one. This is why we need to develop the plan. Of course, Pharmacy Council of India needs to develop the plan along with all of us, so that we have consensus and we can move ahead. As far as single course, I feel since India is the powerhouse of manufacturing, maybe we could bring it down to 2 courses or 1 course with specialization in last 2 or 3 years. Because industry oriented and practice oriented, these are vast 2 different things. So That's what I feel currently. But national consensus is also important. Of course, practicalities are also important.
Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir, you want to put forth any insights on this?
Yeah, in my opinion, with due respect, Dr. Sriram, no disrespect. I would like to say, pharmacology, after so many years of practice, also I feel deficient in knowing pharmacology. I don't think 2 years of pharmacy is going to make a student competent enough to be able to address the drug utilization reviews or drug interactions, which you are an authority on as well, because you have done your studies on that. So in a pharmacy, he would not be able to do anything but give away a medicine. Like you said, if somebody wants to open a pharmacy, for him to get a certification to open a pharmacy like an LLC or what we call maybe a store certification, he can only be an owner, but he should, unless he's a pharmacist himself. In my opinion, to be able to prevent those drug errors or drug utilization review, slips that happen, because I'm sure you probably are aware that in the US, when we practice, we carry a liability insurance about 1 million and 3 million. This is what we carry, a liability insurance, because every human being is important for us. So that's where we stand in terms of being accountable. So if there is no penalization, there is not going to be accountability. And if there is no accountability, people will do what they are going to do. As we said, we are losing 52 lakhs of people per year. So 2 years out of the 140 crores, it comes to 139 because we have killed them already. And it sounds bad, but that is the truth, that's going to happen. So 10 years down the line, 5 crores have been killed by doctors' mistakes, here or give or take. So in my opinion, I would say maybe you have a mainstream course where you can come all the way and specialize at the end of it and say, you want to go the industry way, or you want to go the community pharmacy way, or clinical pharmacy and community pharmacy are close by. You're practicing clinical pharmacy in community. The only difference, when you go in the hospital, you will work with the doctors and see what you're doing. Because the other day when I went to, I've spoken in few places, I'm very disappointed to note here that if I place a question for a clinical pharmacist who is a student right now, in terms of, let's say, there is such and such situation where a patient is on so and so medication, his blood urea nitrogen is so much, his creatinine is so much, his hematology is this, his hematocrit is this, and his sodium levels are so and so, he suffers from CKD. What do you think about this particular treatment? I didn't get an answer from anybody ever. It's not the student's fault. It is the curriculum which is not geared to make the student understand what is going on. We are just learning, it's just bookish knowledge that we have, and we have no application in terms of clinical pharmacology. This is where we are lacking. And I think the entire course is required for us to be able to revamp the profession, and thereby the pharmacists will be able to earn better also, whereby we can, it is a whole process, but everything has to be lifted together. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, moving towards the second question, as we also received questions from views from the students as well about the teachers. Generally nowadays, every institute of pharmacy institute or it matters to any department, everyone is going for the accreditations to provide their standards, to showcase the standards, whether it might be NBA, NAC or NIRF rankings. So in this due time, few colleges, like when some students are sending their messages to us, few colleges in India, they are focusing their views only on they are making their faculties to include only on their accreditation process. In this due course of time, they are lagging in teaching, providing the sound knowledge to the students. So this is making the students to lack the knowledge and decrease their competency. To showcase their standard, they are diverting the faculties towards making the accreditation process. So what would be your views? Like, does the accreditation process need to be make faculties to stick on for 1 year, 2 years in this accreditation and leaving the students behind in teaching their sound knowledge? So does there any negative implications on their profession, and does it happens like this, or it should happen in a other way to rule out this issue? So what would be your view, sir? Rao Vadlamudi, sir.
My view, fundamentally nowadays, all pharmacy institutions thrive for these accreditations. NAC accredited, NBA accredited, and NIRF rank. You know why they do that? Because to lure the students for admissions. And in my mind, because I did not say that earlier, in my mind, these accreditations really do not or does not speak about the competence of the institution. It is a matrix system where you feed the right data and then the result is you get those high points, ranks, and then you are ranked. Okay. In my mind, the ranking should be done by students. Students should rank the institutions based on where they can get educated to a great extent, and become, a very well-trained individual. So, Sainath, what you have mentioned is 100% true, because most of the faculty or many of the faculties are involved in maintaining the records and then ensuring that the institution is inspection ready. In that, there are so many things that they have to demonstrate that all the students are placed well. So there's a record of placements. And if every student is placed well according to that institution, why the students are complaining? Right? But if a student is complaining that the faculty is involved only in those procedures, so therefore we are not given the proper instruction, we are not taught, then we have to listen to the student. And there should be a body. In fact, indeed, the accreditation councils would come and then interview the students also. Okay. I think the students should say it there. But there is a fear complex that they cannot say it. If they say it, then they will be punished, penalized later. So do you think, I support this system. When I graduated from Andhra University, there is no ranking system, right? We were taught and we learned. And based on our competence, the institutions are regarded as, this is number 1 institute, this is number 2 institutes. Even today, I think IIMs and, IITs and business schools, they are all, ranked that way, But the government is encouraging this, and then so every institution is falling in that. Whether it's right or wrong, I won't be able to say, but these are the after effects, these are the consequences, these are the side effects of such systems. Ideally, the institution should have a department where the department is involved in accreditation procedures, and that's not the faculty. Faculty should be there to teach.
Yes.
Sorry, I could have answered this in the short term, but then I went on.
No issue, sir. Thank you so much.
I will be answering for too long.
We need that, sir. Thank you so much. I request Professor Sriram, sir, to put forth your views.
As Rao sir was telling, I also go along with that, because accreditation process should never affect the teaching, because basic duty of a teacher is to go up to the class, teach them, make them understand, simulate the cases, as Mr. Asok was talking about. A lot of teachers, basically I feel that everything cannot be brought under syllabus, right? See, suppose if I want the student to know about Kiran Majumdar, right? It is not available in the syllabus, but I should teach extra thing about Biocon, about Kiran Majumdar's history, right? This will motivate the student. The simulation of cases can be done. With all the type of cases you will not come across in the hospital. So first thing is the teachers, the trainers have to happen. So this is what is more important in our country. And one more thing is the syllabus. If you see the number of subjects what they study, when I say 2 years diploma program and I was substantiating it, you see more than around 14 subjects are being studied in 2 years. And if you see the pharmacy, the entire B.Pharm or PharmD curriculum, more than 23, 24 subjects are studied. I'm sure that nowhere, no other courses, they study this many number of subjects in the world, right? I'm sure about it. But as everybody was telling, you study everything, but you are not competent in this one, jack of all and master of none, then it should be taken into consideration, and see to it that the problem of the students have to be faced by the teachers, and they should be able to teach them properly. They should not spend time more on accreditation rather than making the competency in the students.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Ashok sir and Raj Vaidya sir to put forth their views in the short so that we can move it forward. Thank you, sir. Raj Vaidya sir, yeah.
Teachers are focusing on accreditation, but there is no additional staff to do that. College cannot afford additional staff because there is a lot of competition to get students. And this has happened because we have mushrooming of pharmacy colleges across the country. Today we have 250 PharmD colleges and so many thousand B.Pharm colleges and so many thousand D.Pharm colleges. To gather so many number of students so that they can fill up their seats ultimately leads to all this competition. And seats are not full, they are not able to fulfill giving the salaries to the teachers, and then they have to do this activity. Definitely it's wrong, but the whole system is such that you are sort of forced into doing it.
Thank you, sir. Sir Ashok, sir.
In my opinion, like we have some hormones where we have negative feedback mechanism, we should have a negative feedback mechanism as far as there is a negativity somewhere. So if there are students who are actually in the alumni of the college, or if they are those, if there is a voice for the students and they will evaluate the ones who teach them. Like for example, in the US, if you're a bad professor, you will only teach for so long. After that, nobody wants to come and sit in your class, because there will be 3 different professors or 5 different professors offering the same, teaching the same subject. Here, whether you like it or not, you have to go and sit in that class. I might have had the worst teacher in particular discipline, and I would not know what's happening in that. This has been a pandemic in our educational system for a long time. So if the teacher is bad, somebody has to talk about it, and it will trickle down finally to the point that they have to start appointing competent people, and the students will have to voice it out, and thereby only we can improve the standards. We cannot keep mum and expect things to happen. Now you guys, you are right now students, and once you pass out, you don't care. You are done. You got your job. I have my family. I have no time for anybody. I can't talk to anybody. It's not my business anymore. So it'll be like a few people like me, Raj, Dr. Sriram, and Dr. Rao. People like us will be talking about it. But in place of Sai, there might be somebody else. That should not happen. That is the only way we can change things, because we have to be persistent about it.
Sure, sir. And as we were mentioning about the competent of the teaching faculty, I think I would like to seek the 30 seconds views of the speakers. As the recent graduates, the student, once he graduates from a college, he himself or her herself can be a faculty of the same college without having an experience of an industry, without having an experience of outspoken skills. The same student within the recent passing from the same college would be a fresh teacher. So this is not providing a professional competence in providing the knowledge. So is there any requirement of a special exam to provide the competence of a faculty? Rao, sir.
We have lowered our teaching qualification, masters, several years ago. So it's not fundamentally masters, but it should be with a PhD. So how our faculty develops is that they complete. When they don't find any job, they take up a teaching job, preferably in the same college because they are living close by. And then over a period of time, they register for a PhD and then complete the PhD. a number of years of experience and the PhD, both are there, so they get promoted. There's nothing wrong in the approach, but what is missing in this is competence. Competence development is missing. When can you develop a competence is that with a particular degree, if you go to another university and then join your PhD program there, then you are placed vis-a-vis other people, and then you know whether you are competent or not. If you are not competent, then you have to become competent. I'll give you one simple example. This is my own example. When I completed my master's from Andhra University in pharmaceutical chem and all those things, then I was regarded as one of the top students. When I went to UBC and took my undergraduate, I was asked to take undergraduate pharmacology. They said that no, pharmacology PhD people have to take this. And when I got failing marks in one of the examinations of the very first year I took undergraduate pharmacology, I realized that the approach to studying that I had was absolutely wrong compared to the requirement of the examinations and the courses over there. Here we have to write a huge answer and then nobody looks for the answer. Oh, this fellow wrote 2 pages, so let me give 5 marks kind of thing. There you have to write an answer which is in 2 words, and if it is wrong, you get 0. If it is right, you get full mark. Right? That's what, in a way, Balachandran said that I have to learn my pharmacology over again when he was, going there. So the point is, that's when the competition, competency developed, because I simply realized that what I do not have. Suppose if I continued as a teacher in the same university after my master's and started teaching pharmacology, I would have been a professor of pharmacology, and students would have said that we don't learn anything from him. Right? So it is essential. So we have to change that to M.Pharm. M.Pharm to PhD. But all the teachers would oppose this. PCI would oppose this because they don't want. Right? This is the point. You cannot join as an associate professor, as an assistant professor to a US university or any university without a PhD. You can only join as a tutor or as a lab assistant or whatever.
Yes.
As an instructor.
Yes, sir.
We have to change our, base qualifications.
Yes, sir.
But how many of the students now, if I take a poll, none of them want to become teachers? Which means that our profession over a period of time will be doomed because there is no proper teacher. We don't realize that. We entered into that vicious cycle already. People talk about our time is the golden time. Why do they talk that our time is the golden time? Because there's no competent teaching going on. If any student comes out nowadays with flying colors, it is totally of his or her contribution.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as you're mentioning, we see as we speak with different, as the IPS provides us a platform to speak with different students from across the nation, other departments as well. They do write UGC examination to get a junior research fellow. With this particular competence, they go as an assistant professor. So does we require such examination passing? So that is there any inclusion of the requirement to be as a faculty or teacher in the pharmacy? We should pass certain examination so that they can prove their competence in teaching. So is there any such requirement? Professor Sriram, sir, you can answer.
I do agree with what others say. But one thing what I wanted to make it as a teacher, for example, suppose I am teaching to a class of 30 people, PharmD, for example, right? Out of them, around 5 of them are very cream students where they take up the job very correctly. They go and attend conferences, they present papers, they do case presentation. All those things are happening with those 5 people. The remaining 25 people, right? Out of them, around 10 don't show interest, right? And out of them, another 10 people, they say that, no, my father is not allowing, I'm not going, I'm not, some reasons they say, right? See, a class is taken by a teacher to all of them in the same way. It is how they perceive and how they are motivating themselves. That is also is there. I will not blame all the teachers. But at the same time, the work done by the student is also required. To what extent they develop themselves during their curriculum. They are given the opportunity, equal opportunity is given to everyone. But to what extent they make use of it. When they attend the conferences, I am seeing, with due respect to the students, I say this. Say they just go, they want the certificate, that's all. They go around the place and they come back. So where the mistake is, right? So the student side also, yeah.
I want to add something to Sriram. Sriram, you're absolutely 100% correct. I made statements, but then those statements are not pertaining to that. Every teacher that we have is incompetent. No, I didn't mean that at all. Our requirement of teachers with a master's, and then it is driven by your, inspection system. You need to have 40 teachers. So you would get overnight 5 or 10, recruited to show that. These are some of the perils that have caused it, So therefore, any disinterested person comes into the faculty, comes into the profession, whether it is teaching profession, even whether it is student. The disinterested person cannot add anything further.
Yes, correct.
The system is allowing disinterested persons to come. That's the problem. So we have to cut it there, whether it's a student or a teacher. They should be interested, motivated to learn and, proceed.
Yes.
That is missing.
Yes.
That ecosystem is missing. That's what I meant. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sriram, sir. Now I would like to ask Raj Vaidya, sir, and Ashok, sir, to provide their insights in short brief. Raj Vaidya, sir.
Getting a student fresh from the college sometimes very easy. It also works out economically. And same time, there is no system by which that student actually could have been taken in as a tutor, not as a teacher, so that he can build up slowly on that. In science subjects, you need to answer those exams, NAT or whatever. So that system is not there. So all these things need to be worked out, to what extent it is necessary, to what subjects or to what aspects it is necessary. But also it is very important to introduce the concept of teacher practitioner, especially in PharmD. A teacher practitioner should compulsorily be working in the hospital and teaching. That's how he can get immense experience, and he can actually give hands-on experience and guidance to the students. From what I understand, this is not happening in many of the cases. So the students are left alone in the hospital with no one to guide them. This is happening.
Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir.
Yeah, this I would like to evaluate this or compare this to the knowledge that some of the old-timer doctors have in the US. They still write prescriptions for medications that are either not available in the market, not being manufactured currently, or are not used for the indication that they have written that medication for, because they are not in tune with the times. I, for one, was one of the persons who had to face some issues, because my teacher back in college was teaching stuff that was no longer in practice. Like, for example, microbiology, the organisms or the strains that were being used for the smears, or that kind of stuff. So even if you're teaching in the college, I have actually seen freshers, MPharm freshers, who were such geniuses teaching that they were so good that some of them probably didn't need to do anything but just come and write stuff on the board. And the way they went about it, sometimes it works to our advantage as very competent and very smart students who know how to study and convey. I have had some really genius, three of them I can I can right away call off my head. They were teaching medicinal chemistry. 2 of them were teaching medicinal chemistry, and 1 of them was teaching pharmaceutics. They were just so good that we didn't have to study after their class. They would just have us right there. I'm sure Dr. Sriram is one of them. I'm just saying it from what they read about you. The way they address the subject itself you get interested in it. It's just like my daughter is having a problem right now in school because she has a bad maths teacher, because they take the interest out of the math, and then they will take the math out of you, and then you will hate it. You will have to find a teacher who can reinstate the interest in you, and you have to be in tune with the times. Why do I practice part-time? Because I still want to know what's happening in my field. Something has changed about, for example, atorvastatin. All of you know atorvastatins are, they cause rhabdomyolysis and so on and so forth. There's a new research that says that it is actually causing diabetes in patients. This will not be released in India until enough money has been made out of the statin. Why would they do that? Why aren't the doctors here aware of this? That is because a medical rep will have to go and tell them, and they are not willing to get educated on their own. Forget about pharmacists. We are here to sell what is being prescribed, if that's what we are going to go with. Nimesulide, for example. These kind of stuff. There are lots of different ones. So many drugs banned all over the world. How come our pharmacology teachers don't know about this? It's because they are not in touch with what's happening. How many of us are actually current with our knowledge? Are we seeking continuing education? Are we trying to develop extra skills if we have? So there is actually a joke in the US, They think the pharmacist knows so much. They say, if you can't read anything, take it to the pharmacist. If you can't open a cap, take it to the pharmacist. If you can't fix a plumbing problem, call a pharmacist. This is how they are confident about us, because they think that we are all the time aware of what's going on everywhere, because we have to be. There will be somebody on some talk show who will talk about something, and the next day they would be in the pharmacy questioning us. There used to be one Dr. Oz. I'm sure Dr. Rao knows about, and Dr. Sriram also probably knows about Dr. Oz. He was a cardiologist in the US. He would come on a talk show and he would say, curcumin is very good for inflammation. And the next day, the entire curcumin in the nation is out. All the shelves are cleaned up. So then they would come and ask, so you are from India. So you tell me if you think this works. I have to know it, because there they don't teach pharmacognosy. Do you know they don't teach pharmacognosy in the US? It is not a part of the curriculum. So then I say, yeah, this is the reason. This has been used in Ayurveda for a long, long time, and so on and so forth. I have to be in tune. In a way, the demand is more knowledge-wise for us. For that, we have to have motivated people who are passionate about their profession. If they are not passionate in teaching, they are not going to have passionate students in whatever is the discipline. It applies to all disciplines.
Thank you so much, sir. To all these insights, it makes a teacher could show an exemplary pathway to motivate and to inculcate their skills onto the path through the students. So coming to the next question, when we see the syllabus of a PharmD in third year or second year, probably there would be a particular point where a student should be assigned in a community pharmacy setup for at least 2 months or 3 months to understand how the dispensing, compounding, counseling has been practiced at different pharmacy stores. But unfortunately, I see very few colleges which is being implementing it, or which may not be implementing, because nowadays when the student is going to pass out, the student doesn't have an idea how a retail pharmacy store runs, how a community pharmacy store runs. When we interview or when we speak to the students of the pharmacy, are you interested to go into the pharmacy setup? They say, why? That is not our job. That is something who is looking forward, an entrepreneur or something who want to set up a pharmacy store. They are going towards that journey. That is not my journey to look forward my future. I want to go to clinical research. I want to work in so and so MNC company. But they are not proud to represent themselves as a first primary pharmacist who could counsel about the medication or who know the knowledge about the medications. So to rule out this, how it can be implemented, Rao sir. Sir, you're on mute.
No, I can unmute, but honestly, I haven't heard the question.
In the particular syllabus of PharmD, there is a particular.
Yeah, in short.
Yes. So to make the pharmacy students to have a motivation towards practicing community pharmacy, what would be the insights you can provide on that?
Well, the very important aspect of that is you can take a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. So for any subject, there should be a passion developed. And sometimes what Dr. Balachandran said earlier, the passion can be invoked by the teacher when he is passionate about teaching. He talked about some M.Pharm students who taught, when during my time also, there were some PhD students, who used to tell us chemistry and everything so beautifully. Nowadays, under the same situation, they talk about movies. So somehow the passion to learn has come down, But for a passionate student, he would find ways to learn, right? So I do not know how to inculcate that in the young minds today. Do they listen to talks by people in the conferences? I have seen them walking out when somebody starts the lecture, right? So somehow the passion component is missing. Now, if you ask me a question, how to inculcate that passion, I don't know the answer. Today, if I'm passionate about something, I learn. Even at this age, I'm 70 years old. If I'm not passionate enough, I don't learn, So I think the desire to become a pharmacist is necessary for the student to join a pharmacy school, rather than I joined because there's nothing available. There's so many scenarios. It's very difficult, China, to talk about those.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Apologies for my apologetic answer.
No issues. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, Professor Sriram, so you can provide your insights.
And that's only the thing what I have observed why the students are not taking the community pharmacy as a job is because of salary, right? Once they finish off the course, they want minimum of 40 to 50,000 rupees salary per month, right? And if at all the student is going to abroad and write the examination, they become community pharmacists there. Isn't it? The same job, they're going to do it there, right? And according to this PCA regulations, from second year Pharm D onwards, from second year onwards, minimum of 25 hours they need to spend in the hospital, right? So that can be tuned in such a way that 25 hours they can divide. Either they can be made to work in the pharmacy or they can be made to work in the lab, right? So different areas are in the ADR monitoring center. So they can be tuned to get the knowledge there so that the interest should be developed there. See, sometimes what happens is we used to put in the notice board. See, last week, this is what happened. On September 3rd, there was one thing in New England Journal of Medicine. Semaglutide is used in 10 patients. And out of the 10 patients, 7 patients, they can stop basal insulin. They need not take basal insulin. So with avoiding basal insulin, semaglutide is given and the glycemic control is achieved. Similarly, there are articles like aspirin. For a very long time, it's a very good drug for heart. But recent report says that above 60 years of age in geriatric population, aspirin can cause anemia in 20% of the population studied. So such type of information, as a teacher, when we put it in the notice board, they should be able to receive it or they should be able to have a discussion on that, right? For that purpose, we have every week one group discussion. A topic will be given and they have to discuss. See, the sharing of knowledge is not there nowadays, especially post-COVID. I'm telling you, the students' interaction and the students' professionalism has reduced. I'm sorry to say this, but they should make use of the teachers. This is what is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is a small update to the panel members and the audience here. Rao Vadlamudi, sir, has left the meeting and conveyed his thanks and is being joyful for being here. So thank you, Rao, sir, for being for providing your valuable time and for your sudden commitment you have left. Thank you so much. So we can move forward. If it is okay to the panel members, I think, can we continue for the next 10 to 15, 20 minutes? Is that okay? I think it is being dragging to the long, but as per the panelist convenience, we can move ahead. Sir, is that okay?
Okay with me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Sir Raj, sir, you can provide your insight on this.
I'm not very sure about the compulsion for community pharmacy internship for PharmD student. From what Dr. Sriram just said, it doesn't seem to be compulsory. So there is a need for to make it compulsory, maybe some number of hours, right from second year, third year. That will naturally sort of force the student to go there, because the PharmD, I think, has been framed with a mind to work as a clinical pharmacist. Whereas when they go abroad, they work as a community pharmacist. So that little component at least needs to be included in that. I think there is a one semester topic called as community pharmacy that needs to be integrated with some practical and hands-on experience, and that could be integrated in a community pharmacy. Secondly, during the 1 year rotation also, they could have 1 year compulsion for working in a community pharmacy and well monitored by the teachers. That could help. So maybe somebody is not interested, but when they go there, they might develop that interest.
Thank you, sir. Sir Ashok, sir.
Few questions by the teachers when they go to community pharmacy and come back. It is not just dispensing. Suppose I ask them, who is the manufacturer of Dolo 650? They should be able to say. They will think that, okay, if I go back, my teacher will ask this question, so I have to be ready, right? So
Yes,
it is, again, it's a two-way communication between the teacher.
Yeah.
It is more important.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Ashok, sir, you can.
Yeah, so let's take the example of the US, because that's the best example I can give you right now. We have 36 rotations in the entire course for the entire course of pharmacy. 36 different rotations, which we have in the community pharmacy, in the ICU, different ICUs. We have it in different ICUs, like you have to be a part of the coronary ICU, you have to be a part of the pediatric ICU, and also in the emergency department. And in this particular aspect, as these people get exposed to different parts of the hospital care, they actually get to see which particular department they would like to work in. So they get first-hand experience. They are posted in there for 3 months, sometimes 2 months. On an average, they'll be there for 3 months. So in this particular case, what happens is they get a first-hand experience. They see, and they'll say, okay, this is something I would like to do. So they get it. They go from there. Now, I have mentored several pharmacists, several interns. So in this particular aspect, what has happened is I would put them in my spot. I would be shadowing them, and I would see how they work, giving them an opportunity to take doctors' calls, making them call doctors on drug interactions or dosing verifications, and so and so on and so forth, and then trying to make them look at stuff. I'll be shadowing them just like that. If it is, let's say, oncology, pharmacists have to make the medications, they have to mix the medications, so you have to overlook them when they work. So later on they decide if they want to be a part of this or that. In the US, community pharmacy pays more than any other discipline. It is surprising. It is the other way around over here. Community pharmacy pays the highest salaries because nobody wants to be involved in that, because it's a lot of stress involved. You have to vaccinate people, you have to address clinical questions, you have to take doctors' calls, you have to do drug utilization review, you have to do brown bag events, you have to go into the community and you have to talk to them. Now, in my case, for example, we would be assigned some school where you go and talk to them about drug addiction, or how to stay away from drugs, and how you are supposed to handle your shops, or this. It's so many, certain things that are considered very, very trivial in India, not so important, are taken very seriously over there. And in that particular aspect, I know it'll take a little time for us, but then maybe we should ask our healthcare professionals to hold the hands of the pharmacists and, show them the way where they can, instead of it being a ego clash everywhere. And you can't question a doctor. You can't tell them, don't you think this could be done here, and so on and so forth. So rotations would definitely be an answer to how to expose students, and then say, if this is something you don't want to do, don't do it. Don't push it down somebody's throat if they don't want to do that. This is what I would like to say.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And with the panel member permission, I would like to say that Indian Pharmaceutical Association Students Forum on this particular aspect about inculcating and motivating the pharmacy students towards the community pharmacy or pharmacy-oriented setup. We do organize clinical events or clinical competitions during IPA Student Congress under mentorship of Professor Sriram, sir, and other mentors as well, where we give a particular task of creating, compounding, and diagnosing, identifying, counseling the patients. So artificial counseling. So this can motivate the students to interact different aspects during the student congress. So that is being practiced for the past 11th, 12th student congress, and the next future student congress is coming to happen in very few months. So we look forward for organizing the 13th student congress. So that is one aspect, sir. And the second thing would be where we should always motivate the pharmacy students to go and do their internship, as India is very diverse condition, very different geographically we are there, and north part of India, southern part of India, west and east we see. So we see certain colleges are motivating their students to go for the compulsory internship during their final year B Pharm, whether it might be industrial setup, whether it might be hospital setup. But coming to other part of India, we doesn't see that compulsory going and practicing internship industry level. Why this such diversification is being observed? Why can't we have compulsory mandatory disclosure of practicing such internship across the India? Professor Sriram, sir, you can provide your views on this.
See, you're talking about B.Pharm curriculum, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
The B.Pharm curriculum, as per PCI, in the 7th semester, they are supposed to go for the community and do the service there, right? Or get the exposure in the community. So in the syllabus, in the rules and regulation, it is very well given that either they can go into community or they can go into clinical or hospital or into industry. So anywhere they can get the training done, depending on their interest. It is given very wide openly. It is given that for their interest, whatever they can do, they can do that, right? So I think students have to make use of it. It is already it is there in the regulations that they have to go for this internship outside and come back, right? Or if at all they are having their own hospitals or pharmacy inside the campus, they can very well get trained there. It is all not the number of months or days they get the training. It is how much they have learned from out of it. What is the outcome of the training? That is what has to be taken care. Because few of the students, again, with the due respect to the students, I say this, once they go, they say that I'll go to my native place. There I have a pharmacy, a China pharmacy, where I'll work for 2 months and come back. They come with certificate. But we are not very sure that they have worked, they have learned something or not. Just a small example I'll tell you. I asked ME said immediately, they say, yes, sir, Ordnance Citron, sir. Yes, sir, I know, sir. Okay, who is the manufacturer? And slowly, when we increase the depth of the questions, they were not able to answer. So more than getting trained, the simulated training, I feel personally, because of my 28 years of teaching experience, I feel that simulated teaching gives them more knowledge, right? You give a simulated case, ask them to analyze, ask them to discuss, it gives more knowledge for the students, right? Because some of the places where they go for training, they do repeatedly the same work. Suppose in the industry, they go and they do some analytical work. Repeatedly, they have been doing dilution for 1 month, 2 months. Similarly, in hospital also, right? Repeatedly, they are asked to do only one thing, right? So, but competencies expected is more. So there, the teachers have to play a major role. Simulation of cases can be done. They can be trained. What is the necessity? What is, when they want a job, what is expected in the job? What is the expected skill? What the industry is required from the student? That has to be simulated and that has to be trained. I'll tell you, for example, IV incompatibility, right? So IV incompatibility studies, not much studies are there in India, right? So we have done 2 experiments, especially for the nurses in the hospital with the help of the PharmD students, right? The in vitro, we have done all these incompatibilities and we have showed them For example, this particular ondansetron, this calcium gluconate injection, right? When it is given the same Y site, what will happen? What is the mechanism of the reaction? Whether it is acid-base interaction or because of agglutination, because of some calcium deposition, whatever it is. So we need to train the students in the simulated way, which will create the interest in them. We have to create the interest through simulations. This is what is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Raj Vaidya, sir.
I would like to add that there should be a slight change, and there should be a compulsion to do this training in community pharmacy. That is number one. Second thing, there should be close monitoring. So the preceptor and the preceptor from the community pharmacy, they should be appointed as preceptor. There should be some sort of MOU so that the preceptor in community pharmacy also feels enthusiastic. The preceptor and a preceptor from the college should have a combined monitoring and training of the student. So that will definitely help, and that will bring in accountability. So that the certificate will not only be just a certificate, but it will be a actual value-added certificate.
Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Sriram with everything that he said, and I would like to add that, you know, in the US, like I would have to go back there because that's where I've practiced majority of my time, and I did practice in the Middle East as well, where we were allowed to prescribe in the Middle East actually, and we, at the time I was there, and we had assistant pharmacists who were all diploma holders. Pharmacists had to be minimum bachelors, and what happens in the US is that we have to show our inclination to be preceptors. We have to sign up to be preceptors, that we want to train somebody. You don't get somebody put on your head irrespective of your interest. If you are a preceptor and you train students, then you will be given people who you can train. So colleges approach you and they say, would you like to have? And so this is something that is done across the board. So we will have the institutions coming to us. They'll say, okay, we are willing to teach. We also used to train nurses, because nurses also have to know about the medications, or they should be able to at least say the names of the meds, because tomorrow they have to call in prescriptions and we can't make out head or tail of what they are saying. And so they come and work as well. So we have nursing interns and we do have pharmacy interns. So in the entire process, when we teach them, we always give them scenarios, and we revamp the questions. They are not the same. Like Dr. Sriram was saying, I was in Astra Ideal. I was doing my quality control lab over there. When I did the training over there, they put me in quality control lab because I was good with practicals. They kept making me do limit tests and this, that, that's all. And because they wanted their batches to go out sooner, they wouldn't teach me anything else. One day in the manufacturing unit, one day in the parenteral unit, one day in the packing unit. Rest of the time, they will end up putting you where they need people. Somebody's on vacation, let's use an intern. This is the way they end up using the student. So student has no voice. So he goes, okay, at least I need to get this thing. It is mandatory to get my certificate. That is the attitude the student has. Like Dr. Sriram says, what we should do, always give them multiple different scenarios with different, lab results, different diagnostic aspects and different complications of the students, and try to see what the student has gathered in terms of the pharmacological aspect of it. We keep learning, we keep getting reintroduced to the same molecules in different ways, like he was talking about aspirin. We keep going back and forth. All of a sudden, we'll find out that COX-2 inhibitors are causing issues with the heart, and then we find out that paracetamol is not actually working through the exact COX-1 and COX-2, and there is actually a ghost COX-3 that is actually doing it. And this is something that you discover all of a sudden, and your textbook doesn't have it. When your textbook is not going to have a COX-3 mentioned in that, and we finally find out that is the reason why this is what's happening, and the elimination is happening this way, What is the weight of the molecule of paracetamol versus the weight of the molecule of, say, ibuprofen and nimesulide, and what is the reason why the glomerular filtration rate is affected, and why there is so much of strain on the kidneys, and why we cannot give such and such drug in CKD. These are things that you have to have a comparative study. For having a comparative study, somebody has to put it in front of the student, make them think, instead of them going through the syllabus and memorizing them and coming and vomiting them out. At the end of the day, nobody cares. We kill 52 lakh people, so many crores. Nobody's going to ask you. Nobody is holding you responsible. Tomorrow, if a pharmacist is told, or the shop owner is told, that if something happens to a patient who has been given a medication from your store, or your employee gives it, they are going to come and question you, and you will have to pay compensation. You think this many people will die? I don't think so. I don't think so. That kind of seals off a lot of things. So we have to address accountability, we have to address responsibility. I'm not going to give the same kind of attention when I have to dispense medication to my relative. But when it's yours, I don't care, because I don't know you. That's not how it works. What happens to the oath we take? We as pharmacists are here to provide the right medicine to the right patient, with the right dosage, for the right condition, with good faith. Are we able to do that? When the prescription is written in good faith is when we are able to dispense it. We should be able to question the medication, the prescription, the doctor, the drug utility, and also the health condition versus the appropriateness of the drug. If we are not doing all this, we are not doing our jobs.
Thank you so much, sir. As we focus on the accountability, before going to the next question, as Professor Sriram sir was mentioning, where at the Sir's College, where they are practicing like weekly discussions, notice board about the research topics. In the same manner, IPSF also thought that post-COVID, the students are not discussing or not having such an opportunity to think about the presenting posters or scientific approach. We have launched a scientific Saturday, where a chapter of IPS Students Forum should organize a scientific Saturday where they should at least 5 to 10 students should speak on the new aspects of the research is going on. Through that, they are being practiced every 5 months. They should submit a report to us. So through such way, whenever there is happening a conference nearby to the college, these students are ready to go and present and have a discussion in the conference level. So through this, we are bringing back such practices which is being practiced pre-COVID. Such practices are also happening. We have started through IPS Students Forum. So coming to the accountability, sir, when we see the West.
Congratulations, sir, for such a good initiative, right?
Thank you so much, sir.
Good.
Our team. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And coming to the accountability, when we see the Western part of the countries, when they are prescribing a single medication complete from doctor to the pharmacist towards the technician, everyone's take up the responsibility in dispensing and counseling the patient. If something is happening, each and every person in that particular cycle are being responsible, because whether it might be towards the insurance policy they have, overall central insurance policy. So coming to India, is there any such need of such accountability assigning to the people in this healthcare, and such health insurance policy is being required in India so that every particular person would be responsible? Is there any such aspect over here? Professor Sriram, sir.
Yeah, as far as my knowledge goes, in abroad countries, that is how the responsibility is brought to the pharmacist. See, when the doctor prescribes something, when something happens, right? The pharmacists are asked to go through the drug, go through the entire chart once again, right? The pharmacist's comments are required in the prescription. Right? So in that case, so pharmacists are kept as, what do you say, frontline warriors, right? Before anything, any law sues them, right? The practitioners. So pharmacists are kept as the frontline warriors. So that is how the responsibility has increased. And now they are getting good respect and getting good salary also there. So once you have wanted to take up the responsibilities, again, the basic thing is the what do you say, the competence. So once we are competent, then we can take up the responsibility.
Yes, sir. As you're mentioning, like most of the students are being focused that as they are not getting into the MBBS doctoral course, they are choosing PharmD to get the doctor in front of their name. But it makes sense when they doesn't have a competent knowledge, how they can put forth to showcase they are the doctors. So that's the way we have to build up the competency in our looking forward for the future. Sir, on the same aspect, can you provide Raj Vaidya, sir, your insights?
Yeah, we don't have that concept of, I think pharmacists are not allowed to take indemnity insurance where doctors are allowed. So it all starts there and ends there. So as I was saying, pharmacists are missing from pharmacy. So the whole concept is not seen anybody seriously by anybody. So all that needs to be worked upon.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir Ashok, sir, you can.
Yeah, just like Dr. Sriram and Raj said, you know, we as pharmacists, I mean, I don't want to be called a doctor. What change does, what does it change? I mean, I don't understand why I should be. You know, some people used to say your handwriting is so bad that you should have been a doctor. What is that supposed to mean? So right now in the US, for example, written prescriptions are no longer accepted. It's only electronic prescriptions. So the problem that we had with misinterpreting prescriptions is gone. We are no longer responsible for that, but they have given us additional responsibilities. Like Dr. Sriram rightly pointed out, the first question if somebody passes away or somebody dies is, what did he take last? Did he take a medicine? And if it was a medicine that was ingested, who was the pharmacist who dispensed it? They will come to the pharmacy, they'll look at the prescription, they'll look for the appropriate notations. Who did they speak to? What time, where, when, and why was this prescription given in this particular case? Because we have people from all over the world with multiple different issues, lots of different of allergy situations and so on. Here we have not heard of things like aspirin allergy. I mean, we have heard, but you know, they say anaphylaxis can be caused, penicillin can do this, but very few cases, or maybe we hardly ever came across somebody. So there we have a lot of issues, penicillin problems, cephalosporin issues. We have patients who are allergic to statins, all sorts of stuff. So every single thing has to be addressed. We have to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. If we don't do that, we are held responsible for this. If we in India are able to come to a point where we are going to be responsible and say, you know what, I will provide you this standard of care, you think people will not pay for it? I'm sure they'll pay for it. If McDonald's can come and do well in India, if KFC can come and do well in India, if all these big brands can come and do well in India, for sometimes being manufactured in the same country and not to the same standard or quality as others, this is something that is valuable we are offering. So for that, we ourselves have to put ourselves in a place where we can demand this. That can only come with knowledge. That cannot come by asking or saying, you know what, I did not go to MBBS. And those people don't belong in pharmacy because they can never provide care. Because all they care about is what is in front of their name. How does it matter what is in front of your name? I mean, so much of stuff has happened in so many years. Now, have you been able to, now the Nipah virus is up. How many of your pharmacists are in tune with what's happening? What is the host? What is the medicine? What can be done? What is the deal with the vaccine? How many of the people can answer this question? It's something that they have to look at, and we have to feel, you know, that, oh my God, I'm not updated with this. Let me get updated with that. So this requirement to be updated with stuff is very, very essential. So after having spoken to Dr. Sriram also, I feel I should probably do one more course of pharmacy with you, because I am sure I love to study with you. You know, that's the kind you should feel, that you want to learn from somebody.
As you rightly said, the Nipah virus, even though the student doesn't take the interest, the teacher has to motivate them. They should be a facilitator, right? More than a teacher. The teacher has to be a facilitator to take up the topics and discuss.
Yeah, let it not become a corona. How can we do it? What is the best way to do it? What can be done is something that we have to, we have to inject into the faculty, so the faculty can do this. And it's sometimes, it is not always what we get in return. So we might have to give. Sometimes it can never be equal, So what we put in. So we have to give back somewhere in the future. I'm sure Sai will witness that. Some far in the future, that you will see pharmacists standing behind the counter wearing white coats and having technicians working for you, inputting prescriptions, and just for your knowledge, what is the process a prescription takes in the pharmacy. Just to give you a 2-minute breakup of that. A patient comes, a technician will look at the prescription, make sure the patient is in the system, has all the allergy profile, health profile, insurance information, which of course is essential over there. Then he usually brings a list of medications he's on. So what are the current medications he's on? And the patient looks at the prescription. If it's a paper prescription, narcotic prescriptions sometimes are still written because they come in triplicates and stuff like that. So when that is the case, what you do is you look at the prescription, the data entry technician puts that into the system, and then will send it to the data reviewing pharmacist. When the data reviewing pharmacist looks at this, he looks for all these things at the same time, and he has to focus on the prescription, evaluate everything, make sure it's for the right patient. And mind you, US, we have so many similar names. We have to be extra careful. Date of birth, address, telephone number, so on and so forth. We look at the whole thing. First of all, we make sure it's for the same patient. Then look at the drug, look at the doctor, look at the condition, and then we go through the drug utilization review, health condition review, and current validity of this particular treatment. Sometimes patients come to you after 10 days of having been prescribed an antibiotic. What is the point in giving it to them? So this kind of stuff. So you have to think also independently of what is being given. Just because a doctor has prescribed, you're not going to dispense a medication. This particular aspect. Now, if particular medication is not available in a particular strength which has been given, you send it to a compounding pharmacy. Compounding pharmacies are huge in the US. They are a big deal how they do it, whether it is sterile compounding, non-sterile compounding, or whatever. They are separate entities who actually deal with these stuff. So we have to actually evaluate, is it necessary that I have to make the patient go? Because they'll have to wait for 2-3 days. Am I going to be able to give the patient the medication when it is required? What's the point in giving it to them when they don't need it? So all this we do. Once I am okay with the data and the drug utilization review, drug interaction review, health condition review, everything, then I send it back. When I send it back saying, okay, it adjudicates real time to the insurance. Adjudicate means it will tell you how much the insurance is going to pay. This is the cost of your medicine. This is what you're sending the price, and this is how much insurance is paying. Is this something that I can give to the patient? If not, what is the alternative? You have to know the alternative. So you have to call the doctor and say, this is not being paid by the insurance. This particular drug is being paid by the insurance. Would you like me to change this? You have to know that. So once this is done, only then I can actually talk to the doctor, change the drug, give the dosing, and say, you know what, such and such time I spoke to such and such doctor, authorized changing medication to such and such, and so I can dispense the medication. Then it goes to the technician. Filling station. Sometimes it is filled by a robo. It'll spit out the medication with the label and everything. Sometimes a human being fills it. Multiple different kinds of robots are there. And then it comes to the pharmacist again for product verification. And the pharmacist verifies again, looks at the prescription again. Multiple stops. You get multiple chances not to mess up. Then you stand at your technician who is giving the medicine to the patient will ask you, do you have any questions for the pharmacist? This is called an OBRA question, okay? OBRA, Omnibus Regulation Act question. If an inspector is sitting over there, Dr. Sriram, and inspector observes that this particular medication is being given and a question was not posed to the patient, you get fined $500 per prescription. So if there are 10 medications, you are fined $5,000 right there. So you think you are going to be standing there and not being responsible? You have to be listening to what's happening in your drop-off, listening to what's happening in your counseling window, listening to what's happening. You cannot just say all of a sudden you are standing and you are entering something or talking to a doctor, and a patient comes to your consultation window and a technician says, "Oh, you have a headache, go take ibuprofen." And the person goes, takes ibuprofen, has liver failure, and lands up in the emergency room because of hepatotoxicity. And then the person will come and say, "Oh, what's happening? Oh, this patient already had a history of such and such issue. Oh, who gave it? Who was the pharmacist on duty?" Next question: "I didn't even know this happened. This person has given it, but that's under my license now because I was in charge then." This is the extent of responsibility you have. Are we willing to be there? If we are willing to be there, we will get paid the money also. I know money is also necessary. People cannot just live without it. But this is the way things are going to work.
Thank you so much.
That is where in the course curriculum, we used to teach them about Swiss cheese model, where whatever you say, no, it is all the barriers we have to check that under the NCCMARP guideline, when we teach about medication errors, right, we teach them about Swiss cheese model. So all these things will come under there. So students can go into that Swiss cheese model, right? SWISS, Swiss cheese, CHEESE, Swiss cheese model, right? What are the barriers when the patient is getting medicine? What type of barriers are there? What are the things we have to check? Everything is mentioned there. Official model for rational drug use.
Thank you so much, sir. Through all these points, it showcased that there is a demand of proposals towards the regulatory bodies in India to frame out, to recreate the things, how it is being practiced in order to provide the primary healthcare to showcase the pharmacist position. I feel personally there is a need of national medical healthcare curriculum framework to define the each and every person role in the healthcare, coming to the doctor, pharmacist, nurse, paramedics, and the physiotherapist, whose role is what and what should be a proper national standard guidelines. So through that, it might provide a proper basic principle to provide the healthcare in India. So what is your views on this, sir? Professor Sriram, sir.
It's right that you're representing it. I do agree with that, but again, stakeholders, we are not the stakeholders. The people who are in the regulatory, who are in the council, so they are the one who have to take it up and give the answers for this.
Okay.
Anyhow, the representation is our part. We'll keep representing, right? And the stakeholders have to take it up.
Okay, sir. So Raj Vaidya, sir.
One more thing which I want to add here is, we were talking about doctors, prefixing as DR, doctors. So I think as far as my knowledge goes, doctors, DR to be prefixed only for doctorates, not even for MBBS, right? I'm giving it as homework. Students can go and search, right? So doctorates, only the people who have got PhDs, they can prefix as doctor. In abroad countries, they say, I'm a cardiologist, I'm an orthopedician, I'm a pediatrist, I'm a gynecologist. They don't say I'm a doctor, right? So even the PharmD students, the prefixing doctor, of course, PCI had given the this one liberty to prefix, but doctors is mainly for the doctorates.
Yes, sir. Thank you for addressing that, sir.
Yeah,
Raj,
we need to do our homework first, because we have not very systematically defined what is the role of the pharmacist. Maybe it's community or hospital. The pharmacy practice regulations make some attempt to do it, but we need to go down critically and break this down. Secondly, when you see the IPHS, the Indian Public Health Standards, which define how PHCs, community health centers, sub-district hospitals, etc., should be, the role of every health professional is defined over there, including the technicians. But the pharmacist role is not defined there. So we need to define it and present it to the IPHS. then we can go the next step forward for integrating pharmacists and the other healthcare workers, how we can work together.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir.
I mean, the easiest thing that I can say is we should probably make a delegation and go and meet Prime Minister Modi. Tell him, this is where our situation is. This is what it is. Dr. Kalam has done this for us, and now we would like you to bring us to this, because this is actually going to generate a lot of jobs. It will change the entire profession of pharmacy. So whoever is in the place of the Prime Minister will definitely want to use that, even if it is towards their the political benefit. So we should probably send a delegation to them.
Thank you, sir, for saying this. And sir, we generally, one more aspect we would be saying, research. Nowadays in India, we get a particular reviews from the different students community. They say our college have assigned us to bring out 2 review articles by the end of the academic year, but they haven't trained us how to write a review article or how to be research. We don't know anything. Can you please provide insight on this? They reach out to us and they ask how to write a review article. I think this is the job where a teacher or a faculty should train a student how to write a review article, but they are lagging it. So is there, and also the other aspect part of this question is, we are, as a pharmaceutical students community, we are focusing on the pharmaceutical aspect, but coming towards the research, is there any need of healthcare centric research policy in India, where different stakeholders could meet up and do research and a particular draft a research article or whatever it might be towards the publication? Is there any need of healthcare centric research policy so that different stakeholders could meet up and there could be some funding and that could happen? Of course, certain institutes or an organizations like pharmaceutical companies does an research by providing funding, but is there any need of health centric research policy in India? Professor Sriram, sir, your views.
According to me, it is interdisciplinary research is required, as we were discussing from morning. During that interdisciplinary research, they can contact, is not only the teachers, they can contact anyone who are there doing the research to know about writing a review article, right? See, different types of review articles are there, right? So whether it is say even ordinary writing references in the review article itself, there are 5 to 6 types of references writing are there. Vancouver style is there, Harvard style is there, right? So individually, if you can, it is again the individual's interest, right? Which for this, I don't think we require a centric this approach and all, right? Just for writing a review article. But the real research, the interdisciplinary approach is required. That is what is my opinion.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. My part of first question, writing a review article where students are being assigned, but students are not being taught how to write a review article. And the second part of question, is there a need of health-centric research policy? Yes, sir. That is what I was putting up my question is. Thanks for that insights. And I would like to ask Raj Vaidya, sir.
Yes. A lot of health research is happening, and the pioneering body is the ICMR. It's just that pharmacists are missing in that interdisciplinary, so that we can add to that interdisciplinary research. I think if we build up on our practice research, we are doing a lot of chemical and pharmaceutics research. That's also important. But if we build up on our practice research and have our own sort of policy, then we can integrate and project to the ICMR and work together with them. Regarding the review articles, I feel that 6 years in PharmD is a considerable duration of time in which the faculty and, if necessary, the curriculum can integrate and equip the students to write review articles or anything related to practice research. Practice research is a very important component. I'm not sure what all those subjects are taught at PharmD, but if some plus minus can be done, I'm sure research can be integrated into those subjects so that it may not be a separate subject, can integrate it, that during those specific aspects, research and review article writing or reading, interpreting can be integrated.
Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir, your views on it.
I would say that, you know, whichever faculty or whoever is actually asking you to do this review for you, they should have a separate department which is dealing with this aspect alone. You know, instead of putting in somebody's name and then claiming you know, rights over it, or trying to put it forth in terms of saying, you know what, this is what our people have done, but nobody has actually assisted them or in any particular way. There are multiple cases in which this happens, and unless there is a clear cut hierarchy as to who wants it, how they want it, where they want it, why they want it, and what is the benefit the student is going to get. Just sometimes the students work a lot and there is absolutely no benefit for them. They end up doing stuff and there is no fruit they get out of it. There has to be some sort of reward for it. Then I think there will definitely be somebody who will be in charge of this, and whatever it needs to be put forth. It's not about the language in terms of pharmacy. It is the content. What is the content? Where are you getting it from? And who is helping you with gathering the content, and how authentic is it? What is it? Is it like some of the PhDs where somebody copies somebody else's work and they keep on getting new PhDs, or is it something new that you have something new relevant to say which is going to add to what is there? They have to look at that first before initiating this itself.
Okay, thank you, sir. There are a lot of questions coming in, but in the due respect of time of the panel members, yes, sir. Sriram, sir.
would like to add up on just a minute.
Sure, sir.
In fact, we are learning more from the students, because when we say an assignment to be submitted, immediately they submit, right? So I had given one topic, right? Within 5 minutes they could submit. You know how? ChatGPT. I have to learn first of all that, because I don't know anything about it, but the student knows more than me.
Now they say, you know, Mata Pita Google Devam. That's what it is.
No, it's real. See, they know more about artificial intelligence. They know more about 3D printing. They know all these technological advancements. No, we are lacking behind. We have to accept it, right? The ChatGPT I have given on topic, immediately they are submitting. How it was possible? Then I inquired. Then I got the answer. Okay, ChatGPT. Any topic you give, it is giving you the entire assignment. Try that.
Thank you so much, sir. As there are a lot of questions coming in, and with the due respect of time of the panel members, we would like to wind up with the last two questions. Before going that, the last but one question would be, as we see the situation in India, particularly when a pharmacist, a fresh graduate, want to go and pursue his career, whether it might be in industry, one hurdle he or she faces about the pay scale they get and the respect they seek there. And the people working in industries would not be particularly from the pharmacy department. They would be from the Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, or whether it coming to, as we are discussing about the community pharmacy, certain pharmacy stores is being practiced not pharmacy professionals. So to rule out this, what would be our put forth suggestions could be there, where high pay scale could be increased and the hurdles of respect could be get for the pharmacy fresh graduate, and how to rule out these non-professionals practicing, whether it might be in industry, community, or hospital setup. What would be your suggestions, Professor Sriram, sir?
First of all, if you want more pay, you should take more responsibilities. Very clear. Because from the industry side, if they are paying more, they give you more responsibilities, and we should be competent enough to take up the more responsibilities. That is one thing, right? So normally when I ask any student, how many of you wanted to come into teaching, nobody raises their hand, right? Then I ask them why. No, sir, I will see at last. Nothing I'm getting, I will come into teaching. Right? This is the answer. Right? And what they expect is more money. Right? They expect more money, and they have to have more responsibilities, take up more responsibilities. If they are ready, then they can go into the particular field. Right? So, and one more thing, the respect what you say in the industry, right? In the beginning, suppose if I wanted to learn something, suppose I wanted to learn how to this one, what is that? How to shoot a top, right? Bumper, right? So I have to go and learn to a small fellow. He may be very good in that, right? He may say, even this small thing, spinning a top, you don't know. He's going to ask me, what your great PhD, you are saying that you are there working for 28 years, just spinning a top, you don't know. I have to hear that. Because if I wanted to learn, I should pay for it. This respect or whatever it is you call, I have to pay for it and learn it. There is nothing wrong in that. These are all experiences, right? Experiences counts. So please take it as experiences and move forward, right? Because
Yes.
men management is very, very difficult than anything else in the world.
Yes. Raj Vaidya, sir. Sir, before going to your answer, I would like to add one more point over here. As we earlier ages of in India, we feel an institution as called as Gurukulam. So to bring up such practices of Gurukulam, where practices and experiences could be taught to the students. So can you please add the in that particular prospect to this particular question which I have asked about? Yes, Raj Vaidya.
Yeah, it's a two-way traffic. The student has to show that enthusiasm and interest, make the maximum utilization of the 4 or 6 years that he is in college. He should show that interest, enthusiasm to learn, and the teacher would be motivated to teach. Of course, there may be some teachers who may not be as motivated, but the more you show the enthusiasm, you are likely to learn more. Plus, there is so much available today on Google and ChatGPT. Google, I would say, that you can learn so much by yourself also. You should have that enthusiasm. Secondly, coming to the curriculum aspects, we need to really develop that curriculum so that we develop those real skills which are required on the shop floor. Now, for that reason, we cannot put everything into one. So we need to either specialize in practice or in the industry. We cannot combine all of that together. And so that curriculum needs to be modified. Secondly, we have dumped too many things into the curriculum. So we need to include those practical skills which will really be needed in the industry or on the practice, and reduce some of the things which would not be so important or which have become outdated. If a student in the industry is going into the industry, then little part of the practical should be how to do gowning, how to enter a sterile area or a class 2 area. If that is not taught to him, and it doesn't take much time, it needs just say 1 hour, how to actually put a gown and shoes and enter into the area. So rather than teaching other things, how to do sealing of an ampule manually, which is still being taught today, and still the student is examined how he can successfully seal an ampule on a gas burner, where today we are in technology where sealing of ampule happens by the millions by the machine. So rather than that, if he could be taught these simple things, I think it would benefit greatly. So we need to have that full perspective of how to make that curriculum and how to teach certain things.
Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir.
Well, I don't want any of the students to take this personally, but let me tell you, most of the students actually think they know a lot more nowadays just because they have all the technology at their fingertips. This is only until a ChatGPT or a Google is going to give you some nonsense and somebody is going to get really badly affected. I can give you multiple examples, but we don't have time for it. It happens all the time because you have people go on Google and they learn something. There is something like I was talking about Dr. Oz, or maybe we are talking about Mayo Clinic or something. They don't understand their terminology. We have to, computer is an idiot box. We put the information in there. It will only give you the information that you have put in. If you have put it in wrong, it is going to come out wrong. So, primarily, the respect that you have to give your professors or teachers or those who are imparting education to you has to be in place. Unless that is there, you will not look at him as somebody who knows more than you. His experience cannot be the ChatGPT cannot spit out his experience. Nothing that he has learned can be translated into binary, 0 and 1, which the computers are right now written in. So primarily, expecting respect is not possible. You can only command it. Command respect. You have knowledge, you will command respect. You have to change, your generation of students has to change the way pharmacy is practiced. Definition of a pharmacist, responsibilities of a pharmacist, what the pharmacist can bring in terms of positivity to the health and the healthcare of the nation. Once you do that, automatically you will come to the point where your pay scale and everything comes afterwards. First, in order to demand what you want, you should be worthy of it. To be worthy of it, are you going to be like everybody else? No. Are we going to take away the jobs of all these MSc chemistry people who actually go to the factories and work? Do you need a bee farm to go and work there? I don't think you need a bee farm to go and work there. Whatever they are doing is fine. So at the end of the day, now there will be factories which will be run by robots. Then what is going to happen to all these chemistry people? They'll be having a discussion like this tomorrow. So we have our job cut out for us. Let's stick to our job. Respect and money will follow. Has to follow.
Thank you so much, sir. So before going to wind up the session, the last question I would like to ask is, as we are heading towards 2047, that is 100 years completion of India Amrit Kal, we are being celebrating right now. So what would be your last closing remarks and the final suggestions? How could be, already Raj Vaidya sir have provided the roadmap, but I would like to know the last two suggestions from each of the panel member. What would be the things need to be followed or regulated or need to be implemented in the next towards the 2047 to make the pharmacist as an integral part of the healthcare, to bring up the healthcare as at the primary core concept towards the pharmacy profession. Dr. Sriram sir. In the meantime, we can take Raj Vaidya sir.
I think today what wonderful suggestions and comments have come from the panelists is a good starting point. And if we can filter down and pick up the most crucial ones and put some shortly or immediately workable things, that could be the initial things which could be taken up. I think the roadmap needs to be worked on very seriously, and I would be happy if even if the IPSF, as Dr. Rao had said, don't look up too much to semi-retired and retired people. So I think if students can take that up, I think we all can chip in and support with that. That would be the thing. Take the roadmap as soon as we can.
Sure, sir. As you have said, we are always being ready to take up such initiatives under your guidance and motivation. On this note, I would also like to address the gathering that under the guidance of Rao Vadlamudi sir, T.V Narayana sir, and Raj Vaidya sir, and Manjari Garat ma'am, we are working on representing of the pharmacy count in India, that is blueprint of pharmacy in India. So we are making certain surveys under the guidance of our mentors. So we look forward to start at their guidance and mentorship and approval in the soon time. So, sir, Professor Sriram, sir, your views on that particular question. As we are heading towards 2047, completing 100 years of Indian independence, what would be your last suggestions where pharmacy could project as an integral part of the healthcare to provide primary healthcare services?
It is basically, I say, patient care. Whatever activities you do, right? Keep in mind the patient as a centric model, right? So in that way, I think it will be useful, and individually, all the stakeholders have to work for it. And as you say, the new generation pharmacists, you people are the new generation pharmacists, and you have a lot of role in that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ashok, sir.
Yeah, just like what Raj said and Dr. Sriram has said, patient-centric care. Be proud of your profession for the right reasons. Be the professional for the right reasons and take it forward for the right reasons. Personally, I would say if you have the compassion that you need to feel towards a patient, you will learn whatever it takes for you to be able to give the patient care, deliver proper health care. If you're going to look at your own family member and that person is being prescribed something and you don't know what it is, I'm sure you will learn everything about it to make sure it is the right stuff being given so the person is going to get the benefit of it. Everybody out there is your family. This is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam thing that we have. Everybody is our family. You cannot take anybody out of that and say, you know what, this particular life is lesser than mine or my family's. You do that, we will all reach where we have to by 2047. And you guys have to take it forward. I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. And we're really happy to get associated with you for this panel discussion. As Raj Vaidya sir is one of the practicing pharmacists in India who is showing an exemplary work towards the other pharmacists who want to look up to him. And also, sir was mentioning in the comment section about Tilak Gajendran sir, who's also practicing pharmacist from Hyderabad. So these people and academicians like Dr. Sriram sir and Asok Balachandran sir coming from USA, showcasing the exemplary work here, and the other panel members who are here like Dr. Rao Vadlamudi sir and the Dr. T.V Narayana sir. Because of you all people, you are laying the foundation stone and paving the path, which motivates like young pharmacists like us to move forward by seeking your blessings and guidance and suggestions and throughout the way. As we are celebrating the 13th World Pharmacist Day on the theme Pharmacy, Health Systems. So through this way, we have to accept that we are the one of the integral part of the healthcare, seek the guidance, borrow the knowledge from the faculty members, give respect to the faculty members, and throughout your due course of time, explore the different opportunities, approach in a scientific way in providing the patient-centric care, and let's make this world better place throughout the knowledge which we are gaining throughout our course. Through these short points, I would like to thank each of the panel member from Dr. T.V Narayana sir for providing his message, and Dr. Sumalata ma'am conveying Dr. T.V Narayana sir message, and Dr. Rao Vadlamudi sir, and Asok Balachandran sir, Professor Sriram sir, Raj Vaidya sir, and Mr. Chetan Singai sir for all your valuable time and for patient answering to the questions and for staying up to 3 hours of your valuable time, and all the audience and the participants for making this particular panel discussion on how and when could Indian pharmacists could become pharmacist of the world. Let's take up such responsibilities and make our profession proud. And I also would like to thank my team, Vrushali Doshi, Karsh Shah, Mohit Manchanda, and Vivek Kamble and Devyani Bhatnagar, and editorial team, Miss Atufa and Naisha, and all other public relations subcommittee, Miss Aditi Roy, and Mr. Akshat Lakanpal, and all other members for their valuable time and making this event to happen with a strong promotional way. And thank you everyone for all your valuable time. We look forward for your guidance and suggestions. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Sai. We are behind you. Go get it.
Sure,
We
sir.
stand by you.
Thank you, sir.
Wish IPA-SF all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Raj Vaidya sir, for your valuable time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And I request all the audience to fill out the feedback form, which is being shared in the chat of the YouTube. And we have tried to make your questions to be addressed over here. And still, if your questions need to be answered, please mail us at ipasforg@gmail.com. We take forward to the speaker and reply you back. And we are also doing a lot of initiatives that are happening at IPS Students Forum. Kindly check out the IPSF social handles, IPSF.org, where you will be getting all the insights. And we are also going to come up with a panel discussion or a 101 session in the coming week on National Pharmacovigilance Week to roll out the training about the pharmacy students on reporting adverse drug reactions. So kindly stay tuned to IPSF social handles, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter and Facebook, and as well as the YouTube channel. So we are working for the upliftment of the pharmacy profession. In the due course of time, we are upskilling ourselves. So let's make our profession proud. And thank you, everyone. Mohit, you can stop recording.
Yes,
and stop live.